sun is the darkest black you can imagine.
Hey, space boy, you broke my rocket man heart. Where are the stars? Is it bright or is it dark? The vacuum of space, oh, the tomfoolery.
What happens if you get a leak on that? You have a leak.
Debunk my bubble.
It's hard to comprehend.
Space is fake AF.
Two little bitty O-rings.
Space is fake AF.
It's not what you think, homeboy.
Space is fake AF.
Okay, it's all just cartoons. All of it. Quite literally. It's animation. And if you can't see through it, you're just lying to yourself. I was watching some gamers on DLive, and some of these video games they played, like there was one where there was like this knight and, killing ogres and trolls riding on the back of a velociraptor. And I swear it looked realer than anything that NASA has ever provided us. So the people who think that NASA's real and SpaceX is real and know that the games they're playing are fake are deceiving themselves on some level. There's no way they can recognize fake right in front of them as artifice because that's what it is, and not recognize something that they are told is real, but what is obviously fake, faker than their entertainment media. So, just thought I'd bring that up. Probably one reason why they try to make the entire space program so boring so no one pays attention. Look at this here. So this is Weinstein. Weinstein is trying to gain a little sympathy, so he's playing like he's injured. And I know a number of people are mocking him over it, but I just noticed here, it says here, for your consideration, Weinstein shares hospital pics in a bid to prove he isn't faking it. So I don't really know the backstories to a lot of these characters. I don't care all that much, but I'm just pointing this out. This is the universal sign of the crisis actor. Every background actor on one of these stage shootings will have a flip phone pressed up to their ear, and then they'll be staged, taking a photo, making a call, like some really heavy call to someone. I mean, it's just fake. Just thought I'd point that out. That's just an example of how common crisis acting is. I mean, they all do it. MJC1810 says, is the Tesla truck fake? You mean the one that looks like it drove out of Blade Runner? A movie that was actually, a book that was set in 2019 Los Angeles? And primarily it's about exposing deepfakes, or the threat that these deepfakes represented to society. Blade Runner. The Blade Runners are these robot cyborgs, whatever you want to call it, that are so realistic that people can't tell the difference. And they don't like being shut off. Speak Penguin or Die. A couple of people said I should tone down the rhetoric. I don't mean literally speak penguin or die. What I mean is this, quote, flat earth movement, whatever you want to call it, it's going to die if it doesn't go deep south in all directions, where the penguins are. That's all I mean. You can speak conference ease all you want, and it's not going to take you anywhere. It's just going to reinforce the dominant paradigm. And if the moon is any indication, if it is some type of an X-ray or a plasma event happening in the ionosphere, and if it is on some level a reflection of what's below, it would seem to indicate a whole lot more land than what we see under the dome. Anyway, I'm just saying I'm happy to be off YouTube. I'm done with all the drama queens out there. It's like, just because we don't believe, well, rather, just because we disagree on your interpretation of your misremembrances, doesn't mean we have to hate. I don't really think there's anything wrong with disagreement. I think we've accurately pegged what certain things are. There are things that are objective phenomenon, there are conspiracy theories, there are rabbit trails, and there are facts. And we're not really here promulgating conspiracy theories. We're deconstructing the conspiracy theories that the mainstream media gives us. MJC says, IPS, the CIA mask woman is in the Wall Street Journal with a cover story with her mask with Trump Sr. Yeah, I was just pointing that out today. She served 27 years undercover crafting prosthetic noses, false teeth, and masks that could be peeled off like Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible. She did that for a living. And she's on the cover of the, what was it? I tried to read the article, Washington Street Journal. I'd like to read it, but I'm not going to pay them. So I'm just going to go off my own research. I'm not sure if she revealed anything new, but I pointed it out time and again that she seemed to be introduced on the scene at the exact same time that digital deepfakes are going viral. And I happen to think that the digital deepfake thing is to cover up what she's been a part of for 30 years, which is the creation of hyper-realistic masks that are 100% foolproof, and how these things have been used to subvert any type of real democracy. I mean, we're in a movie theater. It's really big. The world stage is really a thing. Okay, I did find one example. I went over this earlier. I did find one example of someone who's actually afraid of asteroids. And he says that flat earthers are people who don't believe NASA, that we are foolish. And he suggests here, he says, would they be willing to defund the double asteroid redirection test, or DART? And my answer is yes. 100% I would defund DART because I'm not afraid of falling rocks. I don't need your overpriced kinetic impactor. I really don't. Just shows you, though, you have to be heavily indoctrinated to actually have that fear. And I don't have it. Just like the more indoctrinated you are into any religion, the more you fear the end. I don't really have that. Here you go, CIA's former chief of disguise on how to hide spies. And in this one, she talks about how she would send someone back to work among their coworkers just to get them accustomed to the idea of being around people they know without being recognized. Not Timmy Osman says wrenches are for geniuses and principled free thinkers. Yeah, I agree. That's why we hand them out. Okay, a few other links I wanted to pull up I missed on earlier. I think there's something to this
When you need funding for your business,
this cyber attack in New Orleans that may tie into the broader space wars narrative. So this morning, though, I actually watched SpaceX Dragon CRS-9 cargo spacecraft. I watched the whole movie, end to end. So this is from December 8th, and this is the spacecraft Dragon. And so what you're going to see is this craft being intercepted. But I want to show you something very, I think, revealing about the process here. Okay, so you're supposed to believe that this is a craft that's hovering 250 miles above the Earth, right? Now you don't have the whole thing in the picture, but let me move forward. There we have it again. Notice how still it is. That's not aerodynamics keeping it still. That's magic. Like, those aren't wings. There's no reason why this thing isn't somehow beholden to the tennis racket effect. Why isn't it flipping? Why isn't there any kind of a roll or a tumble? I mean, it can't be that perfectly balanced, and if it was a sphere, it'd be spinning. How is it so stable? Again, this is a time lapse. Supposedly it's 250 miles. I think this is too dark on the right hand side. Just looking at it, this looks like a cheap Netflix special effects, low budget sci-fi, where it's all green screen. Look at this here on the right where the red light is. That's too dark. Lean Dion says defund DART. There's nothing they want more than for a big rock to fall down and destroy Detroit so they can say, look, we told you so. Okay, now here's the thing that gets me. So we see the Earth below it. Here are the people down on Earth, of course. This is mission control. But there's a transition that really bothers me. Okay, now here we're going into the night side. Again, the lighting gets me here. Like, look how lit up the shadow side is versus how dark it was a minute ago. But here's where it gets to be, I think, to be fake. Now it cuts to another angle. This is when it's actually intercepted. Where'd the Earth go? So for the next 6 minutes, we watch this crane, which moves like it's underwater. The lighting is diffused as though it's in a swimming pool. We see the camera as the arm goes in and snatches this thing out of space, or whatever you want to call it. But it's like, wait a minute, where's all the clouds? Where'd the Earth go? They changed. Even the texture of it has changed. It doesn't even look the same. If you compare the way this canister looks here to how it looks right here when it's being pulled in by the ship's arm, look, it's not that much of a difference. We're talking about 200 feet, okay? You can see qualitatively these are different images. This is obviously the way the light diffused. This is in a pool. This is underwater. And I may bring up some footage of some scuba divers so you can see how light looks differently underwater. As if you can't tell, as if your eyes aren't telling you, even if your indoctrination is nagging at you not to see it. You can stay gaslit if you want. I'm not here to distribute red pills. We'll sell them to you. No, I'm just kidding. But look, seriously, there's a diffused glow here because it's underwater. Not the same scene. It's a cut. Lean Dion says there's neither stars either, yet we see them from the ground. They have explanations for that. Pippi says, I listen on WrenchTube because I can't get any sound here. Yeah, you know what? YouTube's fine if you need to use it just because we don't have any choices. I do have a couple backups, but I'm not going to build a channel there. Not at all. And now they have rules in place that make it really difficult to be a bully. Not that I'm a bully, but there's a lot of channels that I would consider to be part of this canceled culture. Do you know what canceled culture is? It's like you try to get someone to leave the internet or something. Oh, one more thing. I forgot I put this up here today. I dropped the price on the banana duct taped to a wall. You know, the $120,000 banana? I did a painting of it, which I'm selling for a fraction of the price, $120. No one wants a painting of a banana, so I dropped the price to $21. If you click there, there's a number of payment options. It will ship out tomorrow, and you will get a tracking number in your inbox, so you'll know it's on the way. And look, in low lighting, from across the room, like it does strike me in my periphery as a banana. Like I reach for it sometimes. So there you go. I put a link below. 21 bucks, that banana can be yours. Okay, anyway, my point on this one here is just when you look at the footage brought to you courtesy of NASA, but specifically of SpaceX, pay attention to how different it looks when they actually pull the thing in versus how it looks when the Earth is below it. Not the same camera. This camera is not underwater. I suspect it's recording a screen. I mean, I don't know. I don't work for NASA, so I don't know exactly, but if we could get some more cinematographers or video editors to call in. Pippi says potassium. Exactly. Who couldn't use some more of that? I have a few other links I want to go through I didn't get to earlier today. I mean, you saw this earlier today, and it's worth bringing this up again. So Greta Thunberg is at this climate conference, and this guy, I guess you'd call him a troll, he goes around the conference with a short video and he shows it to people and he says, "Hey, look at this Tesla. What kind of person drives an electric car to a climate change conference and has the car full of single-use plastic trash?" And everyone looking at the video said, "Man, what a hypocrite. That's disgusting. Look at all that garbage." And just angry.
Not Greta's car. I want to believe that it's not her, and I can confirm it. So I will not talk about her.
They found out it was Greta's car and they got super triggered because, of course, Greta actually had to apologize today for what she said. She said, if you don't believe in climate change, they're going to put you up against the wall. Apparently, it's a bad translation and she walked it back.
So one thing I want to show you, it's footage that I took actually of Greta Thunberg's car. This is her car. These are the Aboriginal beads that were given to her by native bands.
Yeah, but it's kind of hard. It's not to be impolite, but
I love how hypocritical they are. They can defend each other. I mean, really, this is bad. Look at all that. Lay's potatoes. These are all single-use containers. They're not going to recycle any of it. Not very green. How dare you? Exactly. And that's where you put yourself, though. When you start judging everybody else, they can judge you by those standards. And if you don't adhere to those standards, they don't feel like they have to either. So now, thanks to Greta, I don't feel like I have to separate my trash. Just throw it on the seat of the car, throw it on the floor, let the maid pick it up. Is that how she does it? Does her maid recycle? Maybe that's her side of the story. Like, that's not her job. Her maid will separate the trash and account for all of it. And her maid is also abstaining from the use of plastic drinking straws, and she's bicycling to work now. So she's actually helping Greta cut down their collective carbon footprint. Greta apologizes after saying politicians should be put up against the wall. I don't think her apology was serious. Didn't David Hogg say something like, "I'm going to kill you all"? David Hogg said, "What do I care what the NRA thinks? I'm going to outlive them." I mean, it was pretty dark what he said. Here we go. David Hogg said, "Those campaigning for stricter gun control laws, we will outlive you. We will outlive the NRA." This is great. We will outlive the NRA. So what does that mean? Does it mean they got your address? No. You don't have to fear, by the way, if you do. I know a lot of people on the right fear gun grabs. They're not going to take your guns. You know why? Because the guns would shoot back. They don't want to get shot. They don't want the real bloodshed. They're outnumbered. The oligarchs don't have the numbers, and they have to rely on people being comfortable and asleep. So they're not going to take your guns. They're going to brainwash the next generation into not wanting guns. It's pretty simple. But here's what Hoggy said. We're going to have to outlive the NRA, and we will. We're not going to stop. Again, we're going to outlive them. We're going to push you up against the wall. How dare you? We want you to suffer. I mean, are you guys reading the meta script here? To me, it's pretty obvious. It's just communism. I'm not worried about it. It doesn't bother me. I'm just saying it's just the rhetoric is so heated because it's an election year. Nothing more. And this thing about the AOK symbol suddenly becoming a symbol of hatred, this is all repeated stories. The bowl cut, repeated story. 4 years ago, it was the fashy haircut. Nothing here is original. Now check this out. Even though I hate Twitter, there's some good people on there still. One of my favorite channels is Dinosaurs Are Fake. And I'll put a link to this tweet if you want to follow this guy. It's worth copying and pasting those tweets into good sites like Float. So this is someone from, I guess, a university who just got Nat Geo certified. So basically, he's now a certified dinosaur hunter or whatever. So here he is smiling in front of this thing. And dinos are fake kind of gets into a back and forth with him just by saying, "Do you realize you're standing in front of something that doesn't exist? It's a replica based on Sir Richard Owen's drawing. Do you claim that any of the bones in the fossil are real?" And of course, they don't respond. Not responding tells you everything. I mean, look, if he's really this proud, "Hey, I'm Nat Geo certified. This is the biggest, day of my life." Defend it. Defend this as anything other than science fiction and a fantasy. I really don't think that dinosaur museums need to be closed down, but I think they need to be honest about what they are and just call them art museums, just modern art. It's grotesque in a way, but these do not exist. No one has ever found one of these. Commenter says, given the generational nature of the deception, I'm prone to believe the controllers at the top have longer lifespans. Or they know how to transfer their souls, says another. It could be just continuity of culture. That's my theory. Continuity of culture. So, if you have an entrenched elite and they have a certain way of doing things and they have an us versus them, they have an otherness to them and they preserve it, I don't really think it requires immortality except in the form of handed down culture. So they destroy your culture, they dilute it, they criminalize it, they call it hate, they do whatever they can to prevent you from having anything that consolidates. Like, they don't like organic subcultures. That's why they have the weaponized anthropology. The reason why we have all the deep fakes is so that the oligarchs maintain tight control. So their immortality isn't really necessarily a physical difference. Although I think that many of the ones who do seem to have very long lives, I don't think it's adrenochrome. If anything, it's probably they just don't suffer from all the stresses that we have because they know how much of this stuff is fake. Speaking of fake, did you guys all see this yesterday? The Pittsburgh rabbi from the Tree of Life, Jeffrey Myers. This is Gene Rosen from Sandy Hook. Isn't that something? Yeah, hey, continuity of culture. We're talking about also, I think they have something consolidated about it. So, how many libraries have been burned where the good stuff was hoarded? Like, who knows what information has been essentially, we're quarantined. We've been perhaps kept back, relatively speaking, as far as a couple hundred years in terms of technology and everything else. And the whole point of weaponized anthropology was and is for the elite to maintain control. I mean, look at the influential people out there who are moving the big stories and where they come from. It's one of the reasons I brought up Hogg, son of a FBI, billionaire or whatever. I'm like, what? What is he doing leading a communist mob? Well, if you look at who's behind the revolutions, it's always the elite, and they put their people on the ground. So, I think really they want to govern you by your own consent, and they want to get you to consent to increasing amounts of governance over your mind, and it's working more and more. Where you got these people who are so duped that they want to have special equipment put out there to protect us from asteroids. Like, it's nonsense. Anyway, Pittsburgh rabbi, this is Gene Rosen. And it's worth bringing up because we're talking about the use of the word hate. We're talking about the use of weaponized psychiatry and also of wrongthink to label people domestic terrorists. So right now, according to the FBI's own internal memos, there are 73 domestic terrorists listening right now. And what the system considers to be so threatening and disruptive is the people who perceive clearly to just describe what they see. MSAG, this is Gene Rosen. This is a Pittsburgh rabbi. Let me give you a link. This is groundbreaking. This came out yesterday on the 7th hoaxiversary of Sandy Hook. So one of the Sandy Hookers got a new gig. And in this one, it's kind of funny. He reads the teleprompter. You can see the light in his eyes from the screen. I can almost read the script in reverse. And it's like they don't want this guy going off script because of what happened last time. We went over this last night, yesterday, no, 2 days ago. It was the Hoax anniversary. And then Sandy Hook had a little victory. Somebody made a touchdown in Newtown. So that's supposed to be a big deal. I mean, such garbage. It's just propaganda. So anyway, I'm going to open phones to almost anything. 505-510-4226. One of the things we were talking about were these huge seafloor holes, like craters on the bottom of the ocean that have been discovered. And I think these things may actually correlate to this notion of the moon being a more or less a projection or an X-rayed projection occurring up in the ionosphere. Anyway, if you think the moon's a ball, feel free to call. I mean, I don't care. If you think it's a ball, that's great. Just explain a few things to me. Explain to me how tidally locked and axial rotation can coexist. Full Metal Jacket Bear says, look at the 5G. The military's been 5G for probably 35 years. Oh yeah, I see some of these people getting into the 5G terror because it's another thing to sell. You know, everybody's selling chemtrails. 5G is a new big thing. But I think they already have 6G in Japan. So, you know, if I was to try to build a channel on scaring people about that, I would probably start off with like 6G. I'd get ahead. No, 7G maybe. I'd get ahead. I'd have it pre-published for 2019 or 2022. Can you send the YouTube links about the moon? Yes. Here you go. I'm going to spam it. This is Sergio Studios 10. Great channel. Here we go. I'm going to play a couple clips here. This is the video I was describing, or the channel. He has 50 videos, and many of them just seem to be the process of him developing this idea and mapping Earth on the moon. Some of these videos are short. I'm going to play this one. It's just 2 minutes and 23 seconds. Okay, so here on the top right, this green dot, this is where he correlates the North Pole. This is the North Pole. So if you were to superimpose the Earth, this would be it. On the top right, this circle would be Australia. You scroll down. This would be the Antarctic Circle. And then he moves a light around to show you the path that we see. So basically the domed flat Earth model, or the AE map, encompasses about a third of the moon's surface. The white would relate to the water below, and the darker spots would be the land, assuming that whatever we're seeing above that we call the moon is actually a projection from below, analogous to the Batman spotlight where it has the bat sticker over the light. The land would be the bat sticker. So I'm looking through how he relates these two maps. About a minute and 20 seconds into the video, he puts them side by side. I mean, it is a really interesting thing that he apparently, well, I don't know. I mean, look, I don't look at this like he's pushing pieces of a puzzle together. At first, I thought you would have to make it fit, but if you rule out the idea that it's a one-to-one reflection, no, it actually makes sense. This does encompass most of the dark spots. AJ202 says, as above, exactly. As above, so below. It's been one of their doctrines. So, next to this, I had this story. Mystery of the ocean holes. Huge seafloor holes off the California coast. Nobody knows what they are. So what he is suggesting in his videos is that the craters that we see and the little pock marks are features from the ocean floor. And that's why you would see them in these areas, in the white areas, which of course is where the projection isn't being occluded or occulted in any way by land. Now, I don't know how it all works, but it's an interesting theory. Commenter says the moon's light is always pointing at the sun. There must be a connection. They say the sun shines on the moon, maybe inverse. Moonlight creates. You know what? I had this notion here that the moon and the sun are both lights. The moon's not a reflector, but that the sun's light negates the moon's, and it has to do with its proximity. And so the moon's phases can be explained by proximity to the sun, not necessarily a direct one-to-one reflection. And I think I can account for even the phases pretty well with this explanation. I need to model it out a little more to show you what I'm talking about, but like when I look at the way the moon lights up, it doesn't look like a ball to me. Does it look like a ball to you without lying? Like a frisbee is not a ball, we can all agree. Is the moon a frisbee or a basketball? If you think it's a basketball, explain to me how you arrived at that, unless you're referring to a basketball shaped CGI model. Full Metal Jacket says, you think the moon could be obscured reflection of the earth or something else? Well, that's what this channel suggests. He says, this is Sturgio's studio. He says, he believes the moon to be a plasma phenomenon by focused electromagnetic rays. He says these rays are coming from a deep source below that passes through the water level from below, and that these are resulting in this focused spot in a high level of the ionosphere. So the moon's image would therefore be like an X-ray of what's below. So this presumes, of course, that the Earth is flat, and that there's more land here, obviously. But that, yeah, so the land would be areas where whatever it is that's going up, this energetic exchange, it's being occulted by the land. It's being obscured, and then it's given pretty much free rein to pass through the water, which is where you get the very bright sections. I mean, this totally dispenses with the idea that you're looking at craters from rocks. Commenter says, there must be a connection between the sun and the moon, otherwise the moon phase wouldn't always match according to the distance of the sun. Right. Milky Smooth says, what's up, IPS cult? Yep, this is a cult, but it's free association, so it's actually good for you. I mean, feel free to call in with your thoughts on this. The more I look at it, the more it makes sense, and I don't know exactly how it all works, but there is some type of what I'll call an energetic exchange. Now, this guy and I disagree on one thing. He thinks that the moon is actually requires something like of a dome to reflect it back down. I don't think that's the case. I don't know about this notion of a black sun. You know, there's a lot I can't, but check this out. This is one of his diagrams. He calls it How the Moon Happens. So this would be a cross section or a transverse section of the system. And so he has the source below that's radiating up through the earth, and he believes that this ray, like the sun, bouncing back down is what gives us the moon. The green area would be the surface of the earth. So he uses the curved surface of what he considers to be the dome to explain the moon's position. He says the moon happens in the ionosphere and it is a plasma phenomenon. The rays of the source of below pass through the water, but not through the land. And again, this is what would give you this inverse. This is what would give you the Batman, logo in the clouds style projection. So he says the moon is a focused plasma spot, moving because what's below is moving also in a 28-day cycle, changing the diameter of its motion. Again, I'm going to go ahead and spam the chat with a link to this guy's channel. It's worth looking into. It's going to be very problematic for the bored domers who think they have all the answers to now have to accommodate more land, because then they can no longer justify endless conferences at the expense of trying to figure out what's really going on. All right. Oh, yes. So Wang, Andrew Wang, the guy with the whipped cream thing, is now talking about legalizing mushrooms for vets. This is what all the politicians do. They promise so much BS. But it shows you what people are looking for. They're just such panderers. Like, it makes so much sense right now, right? Let's legalize mushrooms. The guy who, I don't know if you saw it, but he sunk his candidacy, in my opinion. I'm surprised he's still talking. Did you guys see it? He basically had his voters line up and kneel, and he put whipped cream in their mouths. Very, very bizarre. Almost unwatchable. Breakaway Civilization says, what about John Leonard Walston's video of the moon? Are they all fake? It wouldn't surprise me. I like this theory you're discussing. Well, I put a link there. You can look into it. I kind of suspect there's something to it, but I'm still looking for an explanation for the phases. But this idea of the moon being some type of a projection doesn't really trouble me at all. Like, it's the way it moves. It obviously doesn't have any kind of debris behind it. There's no disturbance in the atmosphere for some massive object moving. It kind of just alights upon the atmosphere as though it were a spotlight. So, mysterious holes in the ocean floor could correspond to that. All right, let's continue. Gene Rosen's made another appearance. I've been going through a lot of feeds on Float, and a lot of people are really keen to just how fake climate change is, which I think is great. I think we need that level of skepticism, because this is one of the things, if you take the same mindset that you took to deconstruct the moon landing, you should see through the space station in a number of seconds. And so I think the people who are seeing through the fake space are doing a good, the fakery with the climate change will probably understand what we mean now when we say that the outer space thing is fake in itself. A couple of Chinese officials were expelled after spying on a military base. I'm wondering if they're leading up to something. I kind of get that feeling. And also, this is a meme that we put out about 6 months ago. I just wanted to run this by you. I think that the space program, that its greatest accomplishment wasn't putting a man on the moon, because that was fake. Their greatest accomplishment has been the success they've had in selling us forced labor and gulag life as progress. And what you're looking at here on the screen is from Dubai's media office. And this is their plan for a $500 million project that will simulate life on Mars. I'm looking through the comments. Armor Bear says there was a great discussion on banning or regulating pornography. I notice a lot of the bears, or the people who attach bears to their names, are for this Hayes Act. Do you realize that if you enforce the type of censorship that you're advocating, you're pretty much going to censor Owen Benjamin? Yeah, Owen Benjamin cult members add bear to the end of their name to signify solidarity with his values and all that. But it's like, look, you can't be a controversial bomb-throwing comedian who wants to get away with calling people the N-word and saying it's okay, or calling Jews gravelers. You can't be that guy and also say, oh, we got to bring back the Hayes Act. Like, what are you, a prurient church lady about to faint on a fainting couch? Or are you an edgy comedian? Like, which is it? Same with your fans. I mean, you guys, you shouldn't be for censoring anything. You should be for breaking down the stranglehold that Big Brother has on the mass consciousness and the culture, especially through the culture, through its proxy agents. I mean, if you want to make that your thing, though, like, where did that all come from? He's part of this thing where it's like for men. It's like this men's club group. I follow it. I understand where they're coming from, but I'm saying is when you start bringing in this like Puritanism, I'm like, where's that coming from? Well, it's coming from this notion that impurities have been inserted into the culture by the bad guys, by the other guys, by the aliens, by the other. Insert your whatever. In their case, it's oh the Jews brought you pornography, so Jewish influence, right? Armor Bear says, "I never heard of a Hayes Act." Don't this is typical liberal bullshit. Like this is now you Armor Bear. I know you don't consider yourself a liberal, but you just gave yourself out. I mean, you really just this is a very liberal thing that you just did. A liberal will say, "Oh, you don't believe in recycling? Well, then you clearly want the ice caps to melt, and you want the future generations to drown, and you want all those kids to die." That's what they'll say, and it's like, no, I just don't want to vote for Al Gore's bullshit. So Armor Bear says, I've never heard of the Hayes Act. You don't think trannies should be stopped from reading to 2-year-olds? Like, what the hell is that? You're going to throw in some basic manipulation like that? Basic emotional manipulation? Guilt tripping? Screw that passive aggressive crap. These things do not follow one another. I'm just saying it's a big joke. And yes, climate change is very anti Semitic. Climate change is actually misanthropic, it's anti human. Yeah, call in, Armor Bear. If you really feel that strongly, call in. I'm just saying that you're being influenced by certain ideas that may or may not have a bearing in reality. Just because your comedian says it's the trannies and the Jews that will bring about the death of civilization doesn't mean that should be your number one issue. Truly, your number one issue should be the communist threat, which is already won. Like, you know where you're going. And look, you're calling for censorship and regulation. Who's going to regulate it? Who's going to censor it? Like, if you're calling for government solutions for your perfect state, you're invoking quite a bit of fascism, in your approach here. And that's what I've been seeing here. Like, we got to have our own little enclaves, our own little caves, just buy from each other, separate from society. Like, I understand that form of solidarity can be very positive. Sure. But then when you talk about invoking Big Brother to purify society, it's like, why don't you just go move to Saudi Arabia? You don't want your women to vote unless they own property. At least that's what the views that the bears have espoused. If you want your women barefoot and pregnant at home and that's it, just go buy them a burqa, move to Wahhabist Saudi Arabia, where they make any type of pornography a punishable offense. We get your hands chopped off or whatever. I mean, do you want some type of Big Brother stern presence in your life regulating your thoughts? Do we really need that? And you would only think we really need that if you have a very low view of man. That man is so low and so corrupt that without this heavy hand, he will just utterly fall into depravity. This slippery slope stuff, which I don't believe in. The commenter says, "What would I call that fallacy?" I think it's a slippery slope. Maybe that's the one. The argument that if you don't agree with me, you're against me. I just call it butthurt liberal. I don't know. That's how they approach everything. Armor Bear says, you can't go on a bear website without typing in your birthday, but there's none for porn. That's all I said. Now you're generalizing. Why don't you call in and defend this stuff? You're Armor Bear. Like, you got to be tough enough to make a phone call and defend your perspective here. I'm just asking who's going to do the censorship and what are they going to censor? Because I think we should censor religion if you want to get into censorship. I think we should censor all radical ideologies. That would include the Democrat Party platform, religion. It'd pretty much just leave us voluntarist and anarchist, I think. But it's like, yeah, look, we're so bad, we're so fallen, we're so perverted that we need Big Brother to take away the temptation. Like, fuck that. Like, what are you actually arguing for? And then you bring up something like, well, if we don't censor everybody, then we're going to have trannies reading to 2-year-olds. Oh, well, if we don't listen to Greta and recycle everything, if you don't crush all the beer cans and separate them, well, the ocean levels are going to rise and all the panda bears are going to drown, or polar bears or whatever. If we don't stop using plastic drinking straws, the pelicans are going to choke to death. Do you hate pelicans? That's his argument. Armored Bear would say, oh, you use plastic drinking straws. Why do you want to murder pelicans? Why don't you just fashion one into a little shank and go stab one in the eye at the zoo? It's like, no, man, I'm just drinking my soda. So, Armored Bear isn't going to call in. His armor's not thick enough. Oh, I love this one. This is what I mean when I say like triggered liberal arguments. This is just one of these memes though. This is the archetypal triggered liberal. If you don't like abortions, don't get one. If you don't like guns, don't get one. Are you kidding? Guns are killing so many innocent children. You know, and this is exactly, you're the special kind of stupid, aren't you? To have these types of inconsistencies. Like I had this guy calling in saying, we got to ban circumcisions. And I'm like, okay, well, what do you think about the women's right to choose? And he's like, oh, you can't take that. Okay, so you can abort them, but you can't do that. This is from pocketnet.app. Another interesting site I was checking out. I don't like it as much as Float, but I like the users here. Deer ticks, brown ticks, Lone Star ticks, Democrat ticks. I mean, it's just cheap shot political stuff, but some of it's, if it's true, it's true. And some of these people, like, I love this one. This is from Sweden's Minister for the Environment. She says, the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere is a disaster. It will result in huge floods and water shortages. Huge floods and water shortages. They don't know what they're saying half the time. Infinite Plane Radio. Hello? Caller?
Hey, what's up, man?
Hey, how you doing tonight?
Hey, I think what you're saying about Owen, I think you're grabbing a little bit, reaching a little bit, because I mean, every time Owen gives out, sends out a video, especially like today and most other days too, man. I can't think of any other day. We discussed that the Grabblers aren't only Jews and not to hate the Jews, and we don't believe that women shouldn't vote. We don't believe that. Like we joke about that. That's not. If you watch the whole 2 hours, that's not what's discussed. That's what's joked about, or what's set in context of something. It's never like women shouldn't vote. It's just we're saying something, and then we would joke around. That's why women shouldn't vote, but everybody knows women should vote. We're not against it at all.
Do you think they should vote even if they don't own property?
We do believe women can own and should own property. We believe that the woman is the head of the household.
I gotcha. Okay.
Man is head of the family. Woman is head of the household. I mean, I'm just getting that clear. Like I'm not saying that. I'm not trying to go super against you or something. It's not even about that. It's more
no, it's
like
cool, man.
Just on what you said. I'm like trying to go back on that because it's not really that, man. I mean, I think most people who don't watch the videos or aren't put on to the Bears, like most people who aren't really into it, just watching it from the outside, I totally understand what you feel. And that's the only reason why I'm calling to say that. Like, it's not like, oh, no, you're a liar. It's not nothing like that. I understand it, I think I told you last time, I would feel the same way you feel if I was watching it from the outside.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm not even too bothered by it. Like, honestly, I don't think women should vote. But I also don't think men should vote. I don't think anybody should vote. The whole thing's fucking rigged. It's just an election rigging contest.
And here's another thing. What we say is we should homestead, and we're kind of all aiming for it. And what you said about going against communism, that's exactly what Owen's about. That's the bigger picture. And lately he's been trying to get everybody to chill down on the Jews a little bit because he's been joking about it a little too much, and we've been talking about that. Like it's been, we're we're overdoing it. It's not the Jews, because they're gonna make yourself hate Jews. And that's what Owen been through for the last like 2 years. At first, he hated the Jews, and then he explains how he's changing as a person, and he's seeing that it's more or less just not consenting to it. It's not about fighting it, because when you fight it, you become them. It's more like just don't consent. Say that it's all fake, nothing is real, and start your own family, have your own kids. That's the only way you're gonna beat it. Have your own kids. Have your own kids. Get married. Well, if you want to get married or not, I say you should get married. You should get married, actually. But get married, have your kids, raise them your own way, homeschool them. Things like that. Like most people, it's funny, right? Because like most people I see like that write about them, I talk about them, say almost the same things, and that's why I can't like sit here and get upset. At anybody else, like, I don't sit and get
Well, look,
upset.
you have to recognize too, though, the point we're in right now, the general public has been conditioned to believe that hate is a thing. Like, I don't care if he uses the N-word, calls Neil deGrasse Tyson an N-word. I don't care what he says about Jews and what they do to our souls. Like, that's his free speech. I say some pretty offensive things, like nobody died on 9/11. Nobody died at Sandy Hook. But to me, the problem really isn't the people or what they're saying, because we're again on the fringe. The problem is that the main... It's not a problem, I don't think. The problem is the censors, the church ladies.
Well, no, here's the thing, right? It's not that saying the N-word isn't a bad thing. It's that if anybody can use it, anyone can use it. It's not that. No, it's not. We do believe that there's some hate behind the word, and in some places there isn't any hate behind the word. But what we're trying to get clear with certain things we use is that everyone should be able to use anything.
Right,
and
exactly.
Anyone
Like,
can use it. Everyone should use it.
For example, you could use these words that might offend some other group, but if some other group says, hey, I think Jesus was a bisexual mushroom eater. As a Christian, you have to say, or as a bear, you have to say, well, even though I believe in the Logos, I have to accept the right of the non-believers to commit blasphemy against it.
That's the thing. We totally accept it. The only way we don't accept it if it's in the saloon. If it's in a personal place where we're like, okay, this isn't allowed. Any other place, it's like, it's just to hell with you. I don't want to. Like, you can say it all you want. It's not. Doesn't go. It doesn't even swing by me. We. And that's another thing, right? He doesn't preach. I don't know if you noticed. There isn't no bear crime. There isn't no. You don't hear about the bears. There is no real movement besides. We're all just watching him rant, right, and give out some real good gravy, right? And we understand where he's coming from. We understand that none of it is. It's all entertainment. It's all him trying to tell us what to do, and not in a hail me, like I'm gonna tell you what to do. It's more like him just giving some good information, certain people following it, living a good life, and like I said, I understand anybody else's view when they see it from the outside. I can. There's plenty of people that I looked into, right, and then I was like, oh, dude, this guy's crazy. But when I look into what they're really saying, I'm like, oh, okay, I get it. I get why they're calling him crazy, but I totally understand him now.
Well, I don't really even, like, when we say they, I talk about how the media looks at things, but I am not even concerned about what the mass media thinks. Like, I'm just looking from the outside as what's going to happen when...
And what's funny?
Yeah.
I understand how intelligent you are, and that's why when you talk about him, I'm not even upset that you say it. I'm more like, damn, man, like, I know it's because you haven't gave it the time. You probably have. You probably got a bunch of other crap to do. You're not looking at Owen. You're more or less just on what you catch or on the days you look him up.
I followed him closely for the last 6 or 7 months leading up to the Flat Earth Conference because I've been interested in how his message corresponds to the version of the Flat Earth that's being sold to the public. And they're trying to brand the Flat Earth researchers as alt-right religious fundamentalist, transphobic anti-Semites, and that is the label the media has created. And so I thought, how interesting! You're going to give them some ammunition. That was my interest in this thing.
Okay, no, and I think he kind of mentioned something like that. Like that it's getting kind of. That's when he started saying, let's tone it down with the Jews and let's tone it down. Like I believe that all of these, like what you're saying is exactly like everything you're saying about him is exactly what somebody would see about him, and I see it. And then at the same time, what I'm hearing coming out from him, it's things that kind of like it's like it's almost like y'all watch each other. I mean, to me, like everything you're saying about him, and almost it's like everything. I'm like, you know what? Everybody probably watches each other, and they probably like, damn, man, like they catch each other on their mistakes. Like, damn, I'm doing something I'm not supposed to be doing, or maybe I'm doing it the wrong way. Maybe it's not the right way. Maybe that's not what's really happening. Maybe it's just synchronicity.
Well, look, I'm a critic of media. I criticize how people approach things, and this is what we've been doing with our media analysis. And so we're just looking at how these things are intersecting. And I know in advance how the media is going to take things because they take stuff out of context. So, for example, one of the most outspoken flat earthers would be deep inside the rabbit hole, right? He's always talking about flat Earth, so he's tireless about it. Yet CNN puts a story out with a quote by him where he says, "I don't." He says, "Why would you want to be a flat earther? Every day you wake up with people calling you an idiot." So
Yeah, okay.
so it's like, wait a minute. The media took
That
this
did
guy.
no.
They twisted his word. They didn't twist his words. They quoted him accurately, and they used it
Okay,
to paint
no.
a picture.
No, you're right. You're right. But if you watch him, right, there's a lot of things he goes, yo, listen, I was wrong about this. Like, I remember when he didn't want to be seen as a flat earther at all because he didn't know if it was right or not. Now it's more along just the middle and going towards flat earth. Like, you know what? It's only what I see. And I see him as a person that's with me, right? I'm a person that I'll take something and I'll try to throw myself not full in, but I'm like, you know what? If this is more understanding, then I'm gonna throw myself in and I'm gonna get deep into it. And I see him as this is his journey. Like he's getting into it. Like he's getting. Like maybe it's smart of him that he does that, and maybe it's not. It's not. Well, in my case, I see me as like I don't think I'm choosing to believe the wrong things because I feel like
Well, look,
most of the intelligent people around me is doing this. They're believing the same thing.
No, look, there's a reason though why most conspiracy theorists point their fingers at the Masons. There's a reason why there's like mainstream conspiracy theories, and I've always been very wary of this all-encompassing bad guy with the synagogue of Satan because it's a really good story. It fits. It's easy to tell, but it doesn't lead anywhere. And I think
him and Crow was talking about that today. Talking about it's not dumb, and I know it's not dumb, but they had a stream about that today that it wasn't. It's not dumb. Like that's just like those are your ordinary guys, and it's just the elites that give out bad information, wrong information. Like it's not. Can't blame it on the Masons. I even have family as Masons, and these guys are sanitation workers and shit. Like they're not. It's not. It's like I understand it. It's not really anything that crazy, but yeah. But another thing I wanted to get into was the moon thing, man. Like you know about like the moon waves.
Yeah, the lunar waves. Okay, so what do you think causes the lunar waves?
You see, that's the thing. That's why I put that post up. It's funny, right? Because it was right before the video came up when he posted up that guy that he said that's a reflection of the Earth.
Yeah, Sturgio Studios.
Well, it's like I see from the way I see it. I think that wave is like water. Like it's like something, how like it's always when something is happening to the moon, right? But I think it's something happening to the Earth, and that's why a lot of these elites celebrate during those times. Maybe something is happening to the Earth, and and the moon is reflecting what's happening. You gotta it's a reflection of what's happening on the Earth. That's what I think, honestly.
Well, that would fit in with the elites' basic axiom, as above, so below, which they use to explain their religion. And I figured it has to do with their interpretation of the celestial movements as it relates to the Earth and how man's a microcosm of the cosmos or something. But yeah, the moonwave thing is interesting. There's a few explanations for it, other explanations for it that are a bit more mundane. That I've been. Do you happen to have looked into the counter arguments to the lunar wave?
No, I haven't. You know what? I just started. What is it? I've seen a few people try to argue it, but I was so much into the lunar wave, I didn't want to hear it. But I've just started getting into it. Like I saw a few guys that were against it. That were using his video, and I forgot what was the beef. I was looking into Crow having like a little beef with the guy for him using his videos and saying that. I don't know if I'm accurate.
Oh yeah, that's right. On Globebusters they covered it. Basically, someone was saying it was caused by passing airplanes causing a wingtip vortice And then Crow's response to that, though, was that you would only have that with supersonic flights, and it'd be a bow wave. I had someone else say you could accomplish that same wave by having a vibrating cell phone duct tape to the tripod. I mean, these are all things that I've heard to explain it, but I haven't tested it myself, and that's the main thing. I haven't tested it.
Now, I have a house full of plants, right? And I have a lot of glass around, right? And I have a lot of standing pools of water, like dirt and water, soil and water, little, like I have like plants everywhere, right? And the reason why I felt like that, right, was, I looked into something like similar to it, right? And then I look at my, the water, like when the water trickles, right, and the light hits up on my ceiling, I get the same kind of reflection of from my plants in the glass at the ceiling. Like that it all came. That's what came to me. I was like, maybe it's a reflection of the dome, like, or something up there, you know.
Well, all I can say is I don't know. I mean, there's a few computer models I want to see created. Like, I would like to know what it looks like, even on a round Earth CGI ball, from the perspective of a human. What would it look like if a disc 30 miles across, 300 miles above, passed over your point of view? Like, I want to know what would it take to recreate what we actually see, even just based on scaling it down to the right size. And then would it be possible to see something go into our range of view and out of it, showing us the same exact face? So there's a few things I think I want to see if we can actually work out with the computer model, taking into account how far the human eye can see, without having to introduce any bold new concepts that are just, like, for example, people talk about the eclipses and they have to explain it. They say, well, there's an invisible sun that explains it. And I can't go with that. I can't go with any explanation that requires that you invent something new. That's why I'm so dome averse. But I'm not opposed to the
I mean,
idea
with the
of
dome thing, like you don't believe those. I mean, I've seen a few videos that they sent up a few rockets and it looks like it hits water. Like, what do you think about that?
Right. Well, the problem with the dome to me is that, like, you look in a fish aquarium, the fluid that they're in is somewhat analogous to our atmosphere, and it would settle flat if the Earth is flat. There wouldn't necessarily have to be a cover. But when it comes to these videos of rockets supposedly hitting the dome, what the people who put those videos up don't tell you, because they probably haven't looked, is that those rockets have charges that go off at the appointed time and pop out the parachute, which gives
True.
and this goes around viral as a false positive. So you got to sort those things out. But regardless, I always think it's interesting to look how fast those amateur rockets go, these
Do you
independent
think
rockets go, compared to the ones that NASA sends up, which are just so slow, like balloons.
space is wet?
It very well could be. Water's above,
I'm
water's
only saying
below.
that.
Could be.
No, have you seen the videos of like I forgot what's the kind of machine that records it, but it records basically the sound waves. But basically, the planets or the stars look like they're underwater, like, and it looks like the same kind of frequencies. Like if you took if you vibrated grains, at a certain hertz, it'll be the same. It'll make the same kind of I mean, it's kind of, it could be dirt up there if it's like that, but
Well, I've seen those videos I think you're referring to with, like, I think it's a solar luminescence, where they have a point of light in water, and it looks remarkably like a star.
well, not only that one. I'm talking about when the videos of them actually putting telescopes in the sky and looking at stars for what they really are, and it looks like those frequencies you get out of when you put
I've seen
grain.
those. I've seen those. They're derided as camera errors, but I don't know. Again, it's just.
So many, like
I know it's
hey.
like with the P900. First of all, you're told boats go over the horizon, case closed. Then you get a P900, and boats no longer go over the horizon. And now they're like, well, it's because the light bends, or they come up with ad hoc explanations whenever we make some progress.
I don't have the best telescope, but I have a pretty good one, and it doesn't. I don't get to see the light the way the way I see it online, but it looks pretty damn close to it. like the one that looks like the light frequencies, like that, like the vibrations. It's like the shapes. I forgot what you call them, man. I'm not, can't just, I don't know.
Hey, what do you think of this? Okay, so you look at the craters on the moon at night, and
Okay.
even with binoculars, you can see
Yeah.
craters that are said to be 50 miles apart. So,
Yeah.
from 238,000 miles away, you're looking at a gap in the moon, at a mark on the moon that's 50 miles in diameter. Well, from the space station looking down at the Earth, or from the moon looking down at the Earth, if you look at their photography, you don't see that much detail on the Earth. You don't see a
You
commensurate level
don't.
of detail at all, which is an oversight that they cannot correct. It's too late.
Yeah. I get what you're saying. No,
But
even when I look up through my telescope, it's you can it's like you can see the moon really clearly. You can see it really clear. But then you pan down and it's like you can see everything else really clearly, and it kind of like it kind of really messes with you. Like, oh, how far is this crap, man?
well, one thing that I like to mention whenever you even posit the idea of the Earth being flat is you kind of eliminate the possibility of light going an infinite distance and those stars, being trillions and trillions of miles away. That not being the case, it's not dead light. It's kind of interesting how the heliocentric model actually kills the universe, and it's just dead light. The moon is a rock, a dead rock, and they kill everything. And the reality is,
So
it's the opposite.
it creates a fake narrative, and then everything has to be fake after that in order for that to be real. I get that. Believe me. Like if you can believe that, once you believe that, you have to believe everything else.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, really quick, what do you think about this? I brought it up earlier today. This Gene Rosen from Sandy Hook coming back and playing the role of a rabbi in a
You know
synagogue
what?
that
I've
gets shot up.
seen this so many times, and I could have sworn I see David Hogg and a couple other things. So I know a couple guys put up videos that David Hogg was involved with a couple other incidents, and man, I don't understand how it's, man,
It's worse than we
it's
think.
laughable, man.
It is. It is, and I'm laughing at them. I mean, we're seeing through the glitches, but it's worse than even some of the stuff I've seen where they can mess with the horizontal and vertical on a face. I mean, there are so many things they can do where um, trusting the news media as a source is just asking to be lied to. It's pretty bad these days.
Do you think Elon Musk is real?
Elon Musk. I was talking about him yesterday to someone. Is he real? I look at his mom, quote unquote, his mom, and he's obviously a character, or he's playing the role of a character who was authored by Werner von Braun.
That's what I mean. Yeah, yeah.
Look,
I mean, like,
even his new car is based on the car that came out in the Blade Runner book, which takes place in 2019 in Los Angeles. So
no,
no,
where did he come from, though? That's my question. It's like he's so old now. He's not old, but he's old. Where did you come from, Elon Musk?
Good question. I heard about Musk through his first wife because I used to read and do book reviews like as a side gig, and I'd get all kinds of books. And I read a couple books by Justine Musk, and it was just satanic stuff. It was basically about these underground tunnels where the scientists were cloning humans that didn't have any souls, so they would have to do satanic rituals to bring fallen angels
Wait, so
down.
he's a fiction writer.
Well, no, his wife. His wife was
His wife,
writing
okay.
fiction, but his wife's fiction was all about underground tunnels and fallen angels and drinking blood, like very bizarre stuff. And that's his wife. And I'm like, like if your wife was reading about human sacrifice and fallen angels, like you would know about it, right? And so I'm like, that's a little bizarre. And then you connect it to Musk's character and the whole thing that he's a part of. He's always talking about AI. He's got these underground tunnels that he's drilling, and I don't know. To me, I think the character is it's a role he's playing for the most part. He works for the elite, and he very much is in the know about how much of this is bullshit. Like when he did Starman, that car in space, he was laughing at
Yeah.
us.
Oh man, that shit was so fake.
He said
Oh my god.
He said, "Oh, of course it's real. That's why it looks so fake."
God damn it, man. I feel like there's something funny with that guy, and I mean, it's something funny about all of them, but just Elon Musk is the most, because You know what? I was really, I was really into science, capital S. You know, and I, I, I don't recall ever hearing about it. That's what just hit me. Like, it's like I was really into the mainstream sciences. Like I was really into them. You know, and like before my whole, you could say, getting into the flat Earth and stuff.
Well, look,
And
it's all an image. I mean, naming your company Tesla,
that's what I mean.
it's association. It's all an image. Whether or not he's real, I think he's just put there on the world stage. I think he's a clear example of weaponized anthropology. They put him there to play a certain role, and this is what's so messed up. He is one of the richest men in the world, and if the world gets hit by an asteroid tomorrow that blots out the sun, he's your savior if you can afford a ticket on his craft, because he's the only one with a plan to get us out. I mean, they created world saviors on the world stage, and it's a big joke. It's a big joke that he's in that position to where he could credibly call himself your savior.
Now, all right. Now, I don't know. Have you ever heard of like the booms that were going down underneath the earth, like going across the United States from California to New York? Like there was like a lot of construction, mostly underneath Walmarts.
Yeah, that's probably his boring company. And I don't think these things are separate. I think the boring company, the underground tunneling, underground infrastructure has been what NASA is really doing. I mean, they give us these...
Thank you. Yo, listen, I thought I was the only one thinking about this. Oh my God. I was really into, before this, I was into aliens and stuff, right? So I had a bunch of guys that were into aliens just for years, right? Talking about the booms underneath Earth and the booms. Then once I started getting into the flat Earth and everything, started getting into the NASA fake, and everything started pulling together. And I was like, holy shit, they really are boring down there. They really are doing some shit down there. And I can't figure it, right? Because I don't know whether they're trying to hoard every, like on the summary of thoughts. Like I don't know whether they're trying to hoard everybody and kill everybody or something, or whether that's going to be like a mass evacuation center for the elites. It could be anything, but that's what I'm trying to figure out. What are they doing down there? Is it really a highway, or is it like something else, or is it something down there that has answers? Like it's just so many things.
Oh yeah, look, I think that they have us looking up, mystified with our jaws open, looking like a bunch of dupes, while they're directly working on what's below. And I think subterranean infrastructure is the future. I have a few theories about where they're going based on their own scripting. Because the initial incursions into outer space on the moon and on the Mars will be underneath the surface. It'll be subterranean because the radiation.
You can't go up. If you can't go up, go down. That was my thought of it. That was my thought on it. It was like okay, you know what? In the Bible it says you can't go up. I'm not sure where it says it, but I'm pretty sure. Like I forgot what basically
well,
you're not.
Yeah, Tower of Babylon. He says go across the face, not up. And so right now humanity is actually being marched into the Tower of Babylon, where we have one common tongue, the internet, and we're all going from Earth to space instead of going across. And I think this is the Tower of Babylon of the day. Is the it's an analogy. The space program is basically that the consolidation.
I believe there's two directions: forward and down. Like as in like where are we moving? Like it's either past Antarctica or below. Like it's like wherever we're aiming, like wherever they trying to go, the elites are trying to go. It's either forward or down, or probably forward and down. Or maybe they figured you can't go forward. Maybe it's only down.
Have you looked into this? Have you looked into the idea of these resets, like historical resets that the elite are doing?
Of course, man. I'm deep into it. I'm so deep into it. That's what I'm deep into. Probably got a little more knowledge in that than anything else.
Oh, you might like this then. I actually have a forum I'm putting together on the topic. Well, I'll be sharing it later, but basically I'm going to do a series of live streams on the topic of this notion of an advanced civilization having been subverted or overthrown. And then,
it could have been Tartaria. It could have been named anything. But from what I'm looking up, there's a lot of documents that say the name of it was Tartaria. I mean, it could be anything. I have a feeling it was many things.
Many things, exactly. And if it's many things, then this entrenched elite once in a while has to clear the set. And this is reflected in all of the flood myths. It's a universal thing. And right now, NOAA, that works with NASA, is giving us a modern flood myth, which is basically saying we're going to clear the set and the elite are going to be saved.
Now, you don't believe that an actual flood happened, though? Because now, my theory, right? all right, because I'm in New York, right, and where I'm at, we have a lot of really old buildings, and there's a lot of hills. I'm in the Bronx. There's a lot of hills, right, and so I noticed really how the dirt is flowing, and then since I know how old are these structures and how and where they're laying. Well, anyway, you I think it was like I think there was a flood, and the mud is like the receding part, like when it went down. Like when the waters went down, it pulled the dirt from the
Okay,
mountains.
that's good because there are different explanations, and people are trying to figure out, well, how do you account for the movement of this? Where does this anomalous soil
Well, when the
come
water
from?
comes back, well, now here's another thing from working with plants. You know, we do a lot of working with a lot of water and mud. When the water comes back, it's way worse than when it went in. Like it pulls mud, it pulls all the dirt, and you get the dirt trails and the mud, and you know it's like that. Like it's like when working with soil, when you throw the water, it clears, but when it comes back down, it drags all the mud and everything back down. You
I
know,
think that's
like
it.
where
And look, if they could, let's say that this entrenched elite has the capabilities of causing these floods whenever we get a little too sophisticated and they want to wipe us out. I think what they would do this time is they would choose their seed for the next age, and they would say, we only want the brainwashees, so we're going to
how
put them in, and then basically wipe out the rest, and they win.
how far are you into? Are you into like the star forts and stuff, like the water they may be like you could say like valves that may release water like because based on where they are like they're near like rivers and waterways. Well, they say the star forts they're like giant tools, basically. You know, like it could be moved by anyway. I'm spitballing. You know,
Yeah,
it's
I know
not.
what you mean. Look,
I don't
the
want to
thing
sound
is,
like a crazy. You know, like I want to sound like. But
well,
anyway,
there
they
has
seem
to
like they're
be
like
there has to be a tech for it. And the thing is, if they turn this on today, they would blame climate change, and everybody would go for it,
exactly,
and they would say, "Hey, look, we just lost
exactly.
Florida. I think it's time to put away your fossil fuel, internal combustion engines, your
It,
electricity." People
and
will go for it.
and it could be anything. It could be that because they know how the stars really move and where everything is really at, right? They know how to vibrate things. If you get what I'm saying, they know the hertz. They know how to move things, and they know when to do it. Maybe they do all of this all the time, every single generation. They do basically the same thing to basically
Okay,
wait for that moment around that time to reset us, like they do it, like whatever. Maybe it could be prayer. It could be who knows. It could be by sound the sound of the voice, or maybe the way people feel. It could be anything. You know,
well, look, you
something
have
turns it on.
a common myth where, like, for example, the first woman was Pandora. If you look at this other creation myth, and she opens the box, which puts chaos in the world, and then Jupiter has to flood the place. You have
Yeah.
Prometheus, who teaches man a little too much. They chain him to a rock. The angels teach men some things. They do the flood. So anytime the masses become too hard to regulate, they've got to wipe them out. I think there's a certain level of ignorance they want to impose on us, and I kind of think that's what it is. It's a system of ignorance, and it's disguised as, of course, cutting edge. But no, we're probably 200 years behind the people, so we have no idea what they're capable of, but we can
The,
kind
the,
of
the,
infer things.
yeah, it's like you look at the really old cities, and those places are still well built. I don't know how much you know about them. Like there's like a bunch of small cities that are like 2,000 years old, right? And their structures are like they're riddled in war, but they're still up. You know, and it tells you how far in technology we were at the time. You know, it's like it's weird. It's like and then when I look at when I go by the schools, like the New York City schools, like the really big ones, you know, and you look at the size of them and when they were built, nothing makes sense. And it's like no, we slowed down and we're not where we were at because these things were built
Well,
perfect and
it wouldn't surprise
beautiful.
me if some of these cathedrals or even some of the new buildings, like it wouldn't surprise me if they're built on top of the foundations of older structures, and that there might even be a continuity. Like there might even be, and this is something I've considered, deep underground military bases may actually be augmenting existing infrastructure.
Yeah, yeah. You know, my building is 100 years old that I'm in. I'm superintendent for a really old building, and I have full control. I'm in the basement, right? And if you look at the infrastructure, right, and what it's made out of, it's made out of really, really old stone, and it goes really deep down. And I try to make sense, because I was into it before I started working in this building, and I try to make sense of it. And I'm like, no, there was something here. Maybe not this building, but there was something here for these rocks to be where they're at and how deep they are, and that everything else is made out of it. It's just weird because everything else is made out of it, and they're at different. All right, the Bronx used to be all hills. It was all covered in dirt. Like we have like a lot of proof of that. Everything was digged out, but where they're at and where the dirt is still at, where they haven't digged, it's like the bottom of the buildings are all still the same. Like everything is just weird. It's like anyway, I believe it, and I think that we dumb down a whole lot, like a lot more than we think. Like it's like we like and I think that's what counts because I think it was the math. The math was different. That's what I think was the biggest difference. Maybe they were using a different kind of math, or maybe calculating things in a different kind of way.
Sure. I mean, look at the use of language in particular as a way of stratifying society and keeping some people from even thinking about certain things. Like, I think it's really curious how it's actually successful. An example here of how just by inferring or suggesting that there's a dome and an ice wall, they stopped 99% of the people who look into this flat earth topic from even questioning beyond that particular edge. It's just kind of interesting how the language that you give can actually constrain your thought. And the lexicon. That's why we've had to introduce new terms. Like, I don't think false flag is a good term to use anymore. We've replaced it strictly with psychological operation. Because if you say false flag, you imply the shootings actually happened. So I've been paying close attention to the language we use, especially when it's been given to us by, well, agents or possible agents who appear to be heavily invested in controlling the narratives.
Now, not going into this, right? Now, orphans. This is something I really want to get into, right? Because it's it's weird how many. It's like I think we got into this last time. We like a little into it, but it was also a different subject about there being orphans or something. I think it was. I don't know when we talked about this.
Yeah,
Did
the
we talk
idea
about
that
it?
okay, so you're saying like so after let's say they flood the place and they repopulate it, where are those kids coming from? Were they snatched? Are they coming from?
Exactly. That's what we were talking about. That's what we were talking about. He's like, where they coming from? Like, now, I think that the same kind of things that are happening now, right? The same like with the whole transgender, like Babylon, right? Is the way they snatch your kids. They create Babylon, right? Either we go to war, and it's not even war. I doubt it's war. I think it's just straight stupid. Like us living the way we live today, we give up our kids.
Right,
Like we care
right.
less. Like whatever we're doing now, we're making parents care less about their children. And I think that that's where it went to. It went to giving up your kids to the state back in the
Well,
days. And I think that keeps on happening. They know how to do it to us over and over, and they probably get better at it. And they're probably better at it now than they ever were.
sure, because
Who knows?
one thing it does. I mean, look at the way they attack Christmas or even Thanksgiving, where now Thanksgiving is about imperialism or whatever. They're always attacking the nuclear family because that's what transmits what came before to the next generation. They pass it on. Well, they don't want that. They want to be the middleman. They don't even want you to be able to give your accumulated wealth to your
And,
progeny. They
and
want a death
even
tax.
even the way we celebrate our religions, I don't think we did. I believe we had the same religions we've always had in every other single civilization, right? Every single reset, right? But we celebrate it a different way. And right now, they got us celebrating it by being in your home and eating with your family. And I don't believe that that's what we're supposed to be doing. I think we're supposed to be looking up at that time of the year. That's what I think. I mean, I want no family during. I mean, it might sound sad, but I'm with my family other times. But I went during Christmas, during New Year's, and a couple other times of the year, me and my friends, we get together and we just like look up at the sky. We want to know what the hell is happening. We see some strange things here and there, and we find that more valuable than we do eating with the family. I don't know why. I think that maybe it's something primary, in our brain
Well,
that clicks to us that we should be
that's
doing this.
Christmas or this time of the year, winter solstice, is a great opportunity to point out the celestial alignments and how the story about Christmas is really about what's going on in the stars. You got the Orion's belt signifying the three magi and their alignment with Sirius, and how it's all astrotheological and it's all about the sun god's birth. I've been looking into this, and that's what it really is. And some people say, well, Santa is Satan, and there's this story going along with this idea that it's all, because Saturnalia. But Saturn and Satan aren't necessarily the same thing. They conflate those because they sound the same. But if you think about it, Santa always had a negative or a devil sidekick.
I mean,
They used to
I
give
mean,
you
we
the
had.
coal. Krampus.
Did you watch the Owen stream today?
No, no, I did not.
All right, he talked about pagans not being a bad word.
Satan.
That before it meant pagans, that all it meant was farmer. He was talking about alchemy and that boiling rice is alchemy. There's nothing wrong with alchemy. Like if you have, there's nothing wrong with being close to earth. Even as a Christian, like it's something you're supposed to be doing.
Oh
And
yeah,
I believe the
pagan.
same thing.
Yeah,
That hit
pagan
me hard.
or heathens, people that heath. Yeah, they've always demonized people on the outside in the same way. Just like the West Coasters, the left coasters will call everyone else rednecks. It's just a way of outgrouping
That's
them.
basically paganism. Following the sun and knowing that the sun is there and the sun gives you a lot. That's paganism.
Yeah.
But what they try to convince people of thinking is that paganism is like devil worship, and it's not. I've never believed that. Why? Because I'm like a nomad, man. It's like my whole, not a nomad, but I'm like I like going camping a lot and I like traveling. So it's like with me, before now I work's really really steady, but it's like before that, I went out camping a lot and I did more I didn't eat mushrooms. I didn't do drugs and stuff like that. But I was more trying to get into it with nature. That's how I started dealing with plants. That's why my house is full of plants. But I learned that dealing with the plants, and you learn how to deal with people, and that's like dealing with earth. You learn how to deal with people, and there's something. I don't know if you ever got into plants, but plants are very like people. Like they're all different. Like the same. Like you could grow two of the same plant in the same spot, and they grow different because they have different. They want different things. Like they don't. One of them doesn't want this much sun. One of them is going to be more. And I always felt that's important. And then like before I started seeing Christianity in the way that I see it now, right? But it was always to me like, oh, it's about God. Like all that stuff is paganism. Leave that shit alone. Not the plants in general, but just whole being rooted with the earth. And now I put it together, and I'm like, nah, it's something we're supposed to be doing.
Right.
Before Owen Stream, I was doing, I was thinking like that. It was just be aware of what's happening around you, especially of the sun, because the sun is very
Well,
important.
the relationship that people have with the stars and the so-called planets and everything else, it's very abstract. And what you're talking about makes it more direct. Like I do make it a point to, I do follow what's above, and I just to get an idea of the pace and how it's all moving. But yeah, if your perspective is filtered through CGI from SpaceX, then you're given false information about how far it is, what it is, and it's just all indoctrination and no practical experience. I mean, that's the reality of it. That we have people believe it's complete. To me, it's tantamount to mysticism, believing in outer space and flying space castles. It only happens in the movies. It's a fantasy, but people think it's science.
No, definitely not, man. All right, man. Do you have any other questions, man, or do you want to get into anything else, man, about the early civilizations, maybe Tartaria? Man, I'm into it. Or
Yeah, we'll be covering that.
Old school.
Yeah, I'll be covering that again soon because I specifically want to find first-hand information, anecdotal information from callers around the country, and then I want to log it on a forum that I'm setting up right now. So here in the next couple of days, I'm going to have a forum set up specifically for this topic and what people have observed in their areas. I mean, I would like to do a personal study of Masonic
Where are you?
lodges built before, I'd say, 1890, and see if I can find evidence of some common catastrophe that happened at the same time.
Where are you without getting too detailed? Like, like where in the United States are you?
Oh yeah, no, I'm in.
I don't want.
No, I'm in New Mexico right now.
Okay, all right. And we got a lot of there's some structures in New York, man, and especially when you don't expect them. Oh, they're here. They're really here, man. Like
Yeah, well,
obvious.
there are
like
some.
they're very obvious.
There are some old structures here that I mean, it looks like. For example, one of the oldest churches here was actually built on an even older structure. And so I'm just curious to see, about the foundations. I want to see if I can access blueprints. There's a Masonic lodge in Santa Fe that is a very interesting building because so much of it is underground, and it has a very
Same over
elaborate.
here, yeah.
Well, it's got this domed theater, and and
Mm.
it was supposedly built by people who brought over the parts on covered wagons, and it's so intricate the way that the pulley system works, where it has like 33 different backdrops, and the ceiling, it's just like it's this vaulted, great architecture, and I'm like, wait, looking at the timing of it, when it was built, the number of people there, the relatively small population, it just leaves me to ask a lot of questions. And I'm just very, curious about this. And then,
No,
of course, there's some underground infrastructure in the city I live in that is rarely talked about. That I think kind of points to something.
oh, my elementary school, school in the Bronx. It's built on bedrock, but like it's literally it looks like a mountain, right, on a hill, and it's all bedrock underneath, right? And it sounds weird explaining it, no, but no, it's all bed. You can literally see all the bedrock underneath. It's like I'm sitting on a giant rock, right? But it has a nuclear bunker, right? That goes really deep, probably almost probably as deep. The school is probably like 6 stories high, and it's a tall six. It's one of those real old buildings, so it's probably like an 11-story building, probably taller than that. When you go by floors, it's supposed to be floors because
And it's
I
got
don't know
a
if you know, but
nuke. It's got a nuke shelter.
yeah, at the bottom of it, right? But it's in the bedrock. It's one giant. Literally a giant rock. It's a giant rock. It's sitting on a giant rock. Boulders, right? It's called CS6. CS6 or PS6. They change it from public school to community school all the time, like certain years.
Okay,
If you look it up, it's in the Bronx.
that's something I've seen
But
here where many of the older buildings have these radiation or radioactive waste shelters, like so bomb shelters, and
no,
these
no,
underground concert halls, all in the same
yeah,
area. And I'm like, wait, that's not even a real threat. We know this, but that's just
no, no,
used
no.
as a great backstory to explain why you would need this stuff.
Exactly. No, no. Here's the thing, right? The school used to be a crazy house. It was a hospital, but it's over 100 years old. It's huge. I'm talking about it's ridiculously huge. This school, like I can't even explain it how big it is. To be, I think it's 5 floors. To be 5 floors, how big it is. You'd be like, what the fuck? But anyway, it would have been impossible at that time to dig into that boulder like that and build that underneath. It would be harder to do that than to build the school itself. Like, it's weird. And this was before they built it before nuclear bombs. That school was there way before nuclear bombs.
Right, exactly. Backstories don't make sense. Like we have deep faked buildings.
Right?
That's
And
right.
then
There's no other explanation. They
no,
give you these
and then
stories
I'm sorry.
because how else would you explain it? And then no one asks these questions. But yeah, it stands out like an anomaly, and that's kind of what I want to get people to call in on. I want to
And
consolidate this and see what we can find.
and in the area I'm living now, every single old structure, right? That every single I'm talking about every single old structure, right? On the cornerstone, they're all from 1922 to 1927, right? So you're telling me, yep, they built these giant, all of them, all around the same exact time. Like, it's weird. It's like it doesn't make sense. And then when you look into them, they were built in like 7 years. It just none of it makes sense. None of it makes sense, and they're all the same, like same 7 years. I think 32 was the latest. It's 22 to 32, but most of them are 22 to 27. They're
So
all it's a bunch of structures,
there's
bunch of huge structures.
there's an early science fiction writer, science fiction horror, H.P. Lovecraft, who lived in New England, and many of his stories had to do with old buildings with strange architecture that he would always insinuate came from having like an older lineage, which he called the ancient ones. But he also always in many of his stories had this component where there were underground subterranean structures that the secret societies were privy to, and that's big throughout Lovecraft. And his dad was a Grand Orient Lodge Freemason.
Have you ever looked into the whole Napoleon changing the narrative?
No, actually, Napoleon says history is a set of lies agreed upon, but
No, I forgot where I looked it up, right? But it was part of Tartaria, right? But I believe it was John Levy. Levi Levy. I'm not sure if that's the right name, but he said that that the whole I forgot what was it in the Bible, but I think the walls of Jericho or something, that was the war of something. I forgot what it was, but I was hoping you knew, you could have, like, maybe you're into him as much as I am. You ever heard of John Levi?
Yeah, in fact, I'm going to be rewatching a lot of his videos. Someone sent me a link, and it had to do with the orphan trains. But yeah, like I said, I'm definitely going to try to consolidate a lot of the research, especially the stuff I get from callers like you who are into this topic. I mean, it's fascinating. I don't have any foregone conclusions, but there's a whole lot there to sift through.
No, there is, and that's, man. It's like we can really relearn history, right? Looking this up, like it's so much proof of it. It's not even like it's theories. Like, it's like, no, this building is older than this, and we can clearly tell, and who built it. You know,
Yeah,
it's like crazy.
I call it retro auto hoaxing. So instead of looking at a history book as established fact, I look at it as, okay, this is what they want me to believe. What can I actually know based on what's presented? And I think just as the last 20 years of media have been systematically deconstructed on this channel, like we focused on like the last 20 years, right before 9/11 onward, really it goes all the way back. And your history book is just your mainstream media going back.
And then I'm not the best at talking. I'm not the best verbally, but one thing I do know is how to build. And it's like nothing makes sense, man. It's like, I'm not a not a scientist or something, or but it's just when I look at things and I look at how old things are, and then I think about, okay, what were we doing at that time, in that period of time? It's like, just doesn't, nothing makes sense. Like, I don't know. I guess it's something tomorrow. I guess whenever you're gonna talk about it, y'all get into that. I don't want to like spoil it.
Well, yeah.
Or whatever.
No, other people may call on it. I mean, I don't know about a whole lot of. I don't know how much you can extrapolate from it, but yeah, there's definitely a whole lot there. And why would you trust your history books when they were authored by the same people who give you Fox and CNN and Greta? Like, you're basically taking.
Exactly. I don't know if they do it anymore, but our books used to say that they come from Israel. I'm not bringing it up because of the, you get what I'm saying. But I'm saying they all our textbooks. I don't know about where you were living at, but I know New York. All of them used to say that it was coming from, the books were coming from Israel.
Well,
Like,
as far as I'm concerned, the textbooks, they're all just going to be, reflections of PC culture, and you cannot go through K through 12 without being indoctrinated into the mainstream media worldview. Much of their education is based on it, so it's a self-reinforcing. It reinforces the news, and that becomes part of the curriculum. So no, it's all just brainwashing. Anyway, I appreciate the call. Definitely call back
man.
anytime.
I like talking to you, man. Whenever you can. I'm not the brightest dude in the world, especially when it comes to talking, man. Like, I write a lot better, but it's like good talking to you, man. I feel like I'm not alone sometimes.
Right on. Well, hey, yeah, definitely call in when we get into that mud flood topic. Thanks again. See ya.
All right, now I'm gonna look into it again too, so I can like brush up on it.
Right on. Yeah, I'll be looking into John Levy again. Need to rewatch some of those videos. Thanks for the call. All right, phones are open if anyone else wants to call in. If you look on the screen here, you need to know that right now you could have, well, perverts or just, government workers, the equivalent of TSA agents, staring at you, or maybe your computer's just recording you for later use. Maybe you're going to be deepfake later. So I made these available at infiniteplainsociety.com. These are privacy stickers. Very easy to do. You buy the sticker, you cut the lines on the perforated lines right here with the scissors. You fold that down so you can cover up the lens without getting any sticker adhesive on the lens. So if you want one of these IPS privacy stickers, I'll put a link below. It's at infiniteplainsociety.com. You should probably get one for yourself, for all of your computers, and for all of the computers of your loved ones. Here's a link. Yeah, history is a lie. Shouldn't be hard for you to accept. Like many people who are religious, who accept the Bible as their authority, they have no problem ditching secular history. And then the people who believe in secular history, they don't want to accept any religious accounts. And I'm saying, you guys are just two peas in a pod. It's the same bitch. Fake history and religion. It's the same bitch. The official history is a religion. It's a worldview shaping set of narratives and stories and foundational myths. All right, so if you missed it a couple days ago, we had the hoax anniversary celebration for Sandy Hook. I'm going to give you guys a link here. This is Gene Rosen, one of Sandy Hook's worst actors, repackaged as a rabbi. Infinite Plane Radio. Hey caller, go ahead and mute your speaker so there's no echo.
Oh yeah, it's muted. Hey, what's up, Tim? This is Milky Smooth.
Oh hey, what's up? How you doing out there?
How's it going? I'm doing good. I want to call in and sound like you was about to wrap up.
Yeah, I'm glad you called
everybody.
in. Hey, what do you think of this Pittsburgh rabbi being Gene Rosen?
Bro,
Does that seem legit to you?
I haven't even looked at that. You're gonna have to point me to that information. It's my first time hearing about that.
All right, cool. Well, so everyone, if you don't know, this is the guy with the song Auto Hoax, right? Saw My Fly,
Oh
That's
yeah,
My DJ Ready Reel,
yeah.
killer track.
I appreciate that. It's Solo My Fly, by the way.
Yeah, Solo Might Fly. That
Yeah.
track Auto Hoax, we'll probably close with it. Anyway, so where are you at right now with this auto hoaxing thing when it comes to history? How far back do you estimate we can actually see clearly?
I honestly, from what I've learned so far, and knowing that basically our whole reality's just been lied to us, which is very sad. But I think that history, it doesn't really go back past a few thousand years. And that's just based off the history of the lineage of the families. They go back at least 2000 because that's when they started recording. Started counting up into, positives. But I think we've been here for, this species, the humans, we've been here for a very, very long time.
That's kind of the impression I'm getting. We've been here a long time, but we're collectively given amnesia. It's like we have a collective death. You know how like a soul might reincarnate or something, but there's no continuity. There's something somehow.
Exactly.
Like, how are they disrupting that continuity? You think it's a flood or something else?
No, I think it's a lot of things. I think there's a lot of working parts to their agenda. Just knowing how we come into the world, not knowing anything, not knowing where we come from, who we are. We have to relearn everything from scratch, like every time we're born, right? If reincarnation is real. Yeah, we have to relearn everything. So they take advantage of that because they can actually, the people that are in power, they can pass down their knowledge and then keep the knowledge from us, which is why, they keep books from us and they put things in books and they put all these things in these articles because people aren't reading the articles. That's why, when we actually look, you find out how dumb it actually is. Like these things, like they're playing games. Like, like some of I've seen some of the articles that people pointed out about space, and they're not even writing seriously. You can tell. Like they're just making up stories and cracking jokes.
Oh, no doubt. Whenever they talk about certain planets,
No doubt.
it's like, yeah, they're definitely having a laugh at our expense. No doubt about it. And then way that they burn books, they destroy videos where we talk about things that might actually give people a fighting chance. So they want to keep us illiterate.
Exactly.
They want to keep us in the dark about their trickery.
And I think illiterate is the key word here. Illiterate, because I'm gonna repeat this all the time. It's like a mind war. It's not like a physical war anymore. Those days are gone. We've evolved, and we don't accept that anymore. But I mean, we accept it on certain levels, but we don't have to accept it. And it's really they're messing with our minds, and they know. I feel like these people who are in these secret societies, maybe even the Freemasons, I feel like they know how this world works so much better than we do that they just play with us like we're animals.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Like,
definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, they know that when they give us emotional dramas, they shut off our critical thinking. And they can influence us by scaring us or seducing us or bamboozling us in various ways. And my perspective here is I'm a conscientious objector. I'm not going to vote, not going to worship their celebrities, not going to treat their stories as real.
hmm I'm the same way, man. When I found your channel, at first I was very skeptical of you because I was listening to Vegan Warrior. What do you think about Vegan Warrior, by the way?
You know, I don't think I've talked to him except once or twice. I know he was in the
Yeah, and
military,
that's how I found out about you.
but I don't know where he is with the auto hoaxing. People have the greatest of intentions, but if they're still
hmm
under the mistaken impression that you can trust media as reporters, then they're being
hmm
misinformed. And so I don't know where he is on that. I have to check.
Yeah, I think Vegan Warrior. I think he does have good intentions. He also has a big ego, which is very evident. And when I listened to you talk to him, it turned into some argument. And since I knew Vegan Warrior better, I was like, who is this guy talking to Vegan Warrior? Because he was making some good points, but it just turned back. But I think that was Vegan Warrior's point. And then I looked you up and I started listening to your show. I was skeptical because I'm very familiar with people who mislead and misdirect and distract people. Maybe Vegan Warrior does that because he makes like 5 hour live streams for no reason. But when I found you, you were speaking sense. Like I didn't agree with everything that you're saying. Well, I wasn't aware of everything that you're saying, but I knew that you were onto something, and I kept listening. And that's what made me to make that auto hoax song.
Yeah, well, that's
Shortly after I found you.
yeah, well, we're strictly adhering to logic, and we're just saying the only way to navigate our way through this maze is to
hmm
reject logical fallacies that let them bamboozle us. And auto hoaxing is
Yeah.
just shifting the burden of proof to the liars and saying, okay, well, they're bullshitters. We're
hmm
always going to call it bullshit. And I'm glad you got that song out because that's a term that the controlled media hasn't co-opted yet. They made it into a
Yeah.
bad word, so we seized it. And look, we own autohoax.com. We get to
Oh
decide what
yeah.
that term means, and they're not going to mangle the image of an auto hoaxer like they did the flat earther.
Oh yeah. Definitely. I feel it. When I heard auto hoax and you explain it, it fit right into what the trajectory that we need to go into. You know. So I made that song. I didn't make songs for a long time. I haven't been inspired, but you know these new things that I'm learning is inspiring me a lot.
Well, I appreciate that, and I get
Yeah.
we have a lot of great artists and musicians who are putting these ideas into music, and it's like, you know what, they can
Oh
delete
yeah.
70 YouTube channels a year if they want. These songs are going to last forever, and those memes cannot be
Yeah.
deleted so easily.
Yep. And they're gonna last forever. And the people is not the thing that I'm realizing too is that this society has us relying a lot on technology, electronics, and things like that, especially the internet and the connection of the internet. But the internet is just it's they're just trying to copy what's already there. Like we're already connected. So the art that we make is very important. And that's what I liked when I saw you because a lot of people don't push for art. They're just talking, 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 talking. It's like you can't talk about everything. Like language is not the best for trying to get ideas out the fastest way. So I think art is a very good way doing the memes and whatever art people do. I encourage people to do their art. Like yes, you can work, but we're human beings and we're creative. We need to express ourselves. And art does I mean, look at the hieroglyphs and stuff like that. Like they speak volumes.
Yeah, that's another thing
So
too. I do think that the arts are very important to consider. These are tangible things, and they want us to invest everything into their structure, which they can just delete in a heartbeat. And so I'm also trying to
oh yeah.
bring back a whole lot of print. What I do is I'll take a 5 hour live stream, I'll have it transcribed through some software, and publish it as a blog because we're not even tapping into the blogs as much. And I think that it's to our detriment. And so having music, it just transcends any platform.
And then you're doing all you're leading the junk, you're doing the archives, which is awesome. Like you're thinking of things that nobody's been thinking about, and that's another thing I like about this too is because I've been always thinking about a way to get away from YouTube, but YouTube is just so like such a closed thing. Like they have so much power, so much influence. It was hard for me to ever think of a way because like yes, you can create your own website, but like how are you going to get people to your website, and how are you going to have big traffic like that? So I think what you're doing, you're on cutting edge stuff. Like honestly,
Oh yeah,
and I hope to find
yeah,
more
this is
people
it.
like you.
We're building a network
Yeah,
of people on the cutting edge, and no matter what
yeah,
happens to us, it's a joke, and I think we're pretty unified. And yeah, that's why I appreciate all the
hmm
contributions from people like you, the music, the books, and everything
yeah.
from we need to just
And
pull
I
it
didn't even know
together.
about Mad Mike either.
Oh yeah, Mad Mike came out of the blue, and the reason you didn't hear about him is the mainstream flat earthers ignored the guy because he said
Yeah,
we need to get an answer, and he also came out in front and he said, the news is all fake and history's fake and religions aren't trustworthy. So yeah, and
yeah.
by the way, Mad Mike's doing a steam powered jump in like a week and a half.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, I think we have a Storm Antarctica on the side of this one.
awesome.
So anyway, hey, I appreciate the call. For those who don't know, I'm going to drop your track before we head out tonight, and I'll put a link there so we can all subscribe and all that. So
Oh yeah, everybody support each other. Follow me on social media. If you want to get in contact with me, we can work. Somebody we can collaborate, do some music together. And let's just keep this going, man. Just keep pushing for the truth to come out so that these people can fold and get on with the program.
yeah, absolutely, awesome. I appreciate the call, man.
I would love to.
No,
No
go
problem.
on.
But I would love to see a kill. I'm focused on this one person because I have a connection with Tupac in my life. I would love to see a kill the MC become a whistleblower and just do something crazy. Like that would be awesome, bro.
You know
I
what?
just want to put that out there.
It would be honestly that would be quite amazing to have somebody on the inside just pull the mask off of it once
Yeah,
and
just
for
be
all.
courageous about it. Just get your mind together. Be like, hey, I'm a person. They're gonna kill me, so what? This is the truth.
Yeah, yeah. Wow, that would be heavy because like that there is like a linchpin. Some of these deep fakers, some of these situations reveal so much about the infrastructure behind these deceptions. I mean, it's you pull out one
Yeah,
piece and the whole thing comes down.
yeah. I've seen what you guys pointed out, and I've seen the real time reactions on my own, the real time like response from media to what's going on here, and it's not anywhere else. It's just here with what's going on at IPS. So there's definitely we're definitely I don't know the word, but we're causing trouble in a good way.
Oh yeah, definitely we are cutting edge, and that's what our objective is here. Guardrails and these false narrative pushers are there to keep people passive and to keep them from going beyond these mainstream conspiracy theories. And we're like, now we're going over the guardrails, going past the boundaries that they set for us. And to me, that's what, when I heard flat Earth, at first that's what I thought anyway. As a metaphor, it means going beyond the boundaries. Otherwise, you're not going to see the
Yeah,
big picture.
yeah. And I came to flat Earth because I thought it was crazy, but I found out there's some truth to it, and I'm like, I don't like being lied to. I need to know where I am. I thought I was in space on a ball. Anyways, yeah, man. I know you're trying to get off or leave or whatever. So I
No,
want to
no,
take up the
actually,
time.
no. If you got anything else, man, no, it's totally cool. I'm just lining up a few tracks to play in the
Mhm.
meantime. In the next couple of days, I'm gonna kick off like a 24/7 stream or something, and just keep the light of
So yeah.
civilization going. I think I want to keep possibly a 24/7 stream, but no, we're gonna break into it in a few days.
Mhm.
And so what I'm gonna do is take my old archives and intersperse it with music. Another reason,
Mhm.
so anyone here who has produced music, I'm consolidating it all on the Infinite Plain Society website. There's just tons of
Mhm.
it, and we'll get into
Yeah, man. I think
circulation.
that's a really good idea. And you can probably get like a dedicated DJ to help you out with that, so they can keep up with the music and keep things interesting.
Man, that would be cool, actually. I'm glad you put that out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, anybody, whether you do Streamlabs or any kind of streaming, we've got a ton of music and also other stuff we'd like to just play on 24/7,
Yeah.
365. Eventually, we'll get into
Yeah. You
AM
have like
radio.
that's awesome, man. There's so much we could do. There's so much that so many outlets, so many ways to communicate to people.
Oh yeah, I'm looking forward to 2020, despite all the resistance to what we're doing, because this is the year that a few things should change. I mean, Mad Mike Hughes is planning this daredevil stunt that involves a 400-foot diameter balloon taking his rocket 20 miles up and then blasting to a new height, live streaming it, and that right there, that kind of an event will shine so much light on this flat Earth concept, right or wrong or
Oh
however high it
yeah.
gets. That I expect 2020 to have some initial boat rocking incidents, and this is also when they're going to
Yeah.
start space tourism. So to me, it's like, well, who's going to win? the dupes, with their fake space travel and their space hotels, or the perceivers who are going to figure out some way to break the spell.
Oh, you want to know something crazy? A story that I had in my past. When I was with friends making music, we had, I guess we were online doing something, and we had ran across this website it was an official website that was looking for people to start training to go to Mars. And we looked at it. I thought it was fake when I saw it, but I looked at everything. It was from official agencies. It had real applications. You do a deposit fee. Like, you have to go through all this. You have to jump through all these hoops. But I was like, dang, I was thinking, do I really want to go to Mars? So
yeah, you know what?
They have stuff like that out there on the internet to get people.
Oh yeah, I've seen these posters, and they look like the old communist posters. And it's always, "We want you for Mars. We want you to farm potatoes on Mars." And so this is, I think, the big win has been 5 generations or so. The space program has been used to convince capitalists that the best form of life is forced labor in gulags under domes.
Yeah, they're trying to get us back into slavery, but we got to stay awake. We got to stay aware.
Yeah, exactly. And we can't be cowed into not criticizing stuff. I see people, they don't want to say that Sandy Hook is fake because some people got sued. It's like, they're not going to sue me. I'm a real person. If they sue me, I'll call them a crisis actor in court. Whereas Alex Jones doesn't have the balls to call him a crisis actor in court because he's he's an actor, and he's on a script.
Yeah, and those are the benefits of knowing law.
Yes. Yeah, another area there where they've taken language and they've kept us in the dark about significant things.
Yeah, man, it's deep and it's complicated, but we can get out of it. I know that.
Exactly. Well, look, I appreciate the call again, everyone. This is Solemnite Fly. This is Auto Hoax, produced by DJ Ready Rail. And yeah, anybody who wants to collaborate with you, they can get a hold of you through SoundCloud, I assume. And so I'm gonna.
Yes, and I just wanted to clarify that with my name, I went by Milky Smooth at first when I was making beats. I see myself as a producer more than like a rapper or whatever. Like, I'm a music artist. I do what it takes to make music. And I recently started getting into writing because I felt more, I just felt better doing writing for this time. And I got with the name Solemnite that's the style that I feel when I rap. When I'm making beats, I feel Milky Smooth.
Gotcha.
So that's why I have the different names.
Okay, cool. Well, yeah, hopefully that there's people out there who may want to collaborate with you on some more work. And, a big part of using the terminology we're using, or even the lyrics that we have going into these songs, is that this is stuff they can't censor. It even goes above their hate speech rules, where if it's like, you could do a diss track and you could call anybody anything, and it's not hate speech if it's a produced track. And so we do get a lot of cover when we do art, a whole lot of cover.
Yep. Music is a powerful thing, man. That's why I love doing it, because I can say what I want, and people can disagree or whatever. I don't care. Sometimes I probably don't make sense. It doesn't matter, because I got my message out. It's a song. It's art. So you can't say nothing about it. Put a banana on the wall, call it art.
Yeah, exactly. And that, that's kind of what we did with the billboards. The way we took this flat earth topic out of the hands of the people who were like hoarding it is we put it on a billboard, research flat earth, and then it started really breaking out. And that's how Mike heard of it, and he put that on his rocket and made it go viral. But art and memes and songs will transmit memes, and this is why they're trying to clamp down on the internet. They know that catching memes can behave like viruses, and it can contaminate people with realities that they don't want them to see.
Yeah, they can, and they're doing it, and they're doing a really good job, not because they're very skillful at what they do, is because we allow them to. When I studied a little bit of law, studied it for a few years now, I think that's the main game, is that they just keep us ignorant so that we can consent to what they're doing, and then they don't have to, it's a lot easier to do when you have people saying, it's okay for you to take my phone, or it's okay for you to do this, to do that. It's okay for you to tax me.
Yes.
They don't have to tax us. That's a lot of things they don't have to do.
Exactly. It's theft. And you're right. They manufacture consent by providing you with rationalization. So, Parents consent to their kids being traumatized by the police with these drills in schools. They consent to it because they believe what they saw on TV that necessitates it.
Yeah, and speak about family, that's one of the things that got me mad about this world is seeing how my family was being manipulated by what they see on the news and what they see on TV and stuff like that. Like, I saw at a young age, like, that stuff is not good. And I was playing video games all the time, Grand Theft Auto, whatever else. And I really love Grand Theft Auto because it really captured my imagination. But I saw how it wasn't doing any good for me and my friends. Like, we weren't actually living, we were just kind of just looking for the next way to feel some entertainment or pleasure. And
yeah,
and then my dad, like, he would like worry a lot for no reason just because they said something on TV. I'm like, dude, this is not cool.
Oh yeah, that's what they do. They create border insecurity, security about the sky falling, the earth's going to shake, the air is going to become, everything that they can scare you with, they do. And I think the video games have been used there to condition people.
Go ahead.
Well, I think video games were used to condition people to not roam the world, but to roam vicariously through the video game.
Yep, I definitely saw that because open world games were becoming more popular as the years were going on. Coming from like PlayStation and Sega days. They started when they got 3D. Grand Theft Auto 3 was like the biggest one. It started it all. Open world games became very popular, and they're just paving the way to just keep us enslaved in box. Once the TV came out, they saw how they can keep us in front of the screen on the couch. So they used that. It started with the radio too, but TV really amplified it. Video games amplified it. Phones even more amplified because now we can take it on the go. Even with the mobile games, they're making millions off of mobile games, and they're just heading into a virtual reality. So, I'm seeing, I'm just connecting the dots as I'm looking at things, and I see how the world is going. Like, there is no new world order per se. Like, the new world order is already in place. It's just a process. It's just it's going slowly, so we don't notice really what's going on, as long as we stay entertained and consenting.
Yep, the old world order has just periodically goes through these. It's like a new iteration, like the next version of iPhone. Well, we're in the new world order is just the old world order 2.0.
Oh yeah, definitely. And they use things. They use those things against us. Like the new world order, I'm just going to say I don't think is necessarily a bad thing. I think when that idea or that phrase came out, I think it had good intentions from good people. But I think what they do is that they use the good things, like say auto hoax, for example, and they'll make it bad. So expect them to try to make auto hoax bad because that's what they do with everything.
Oh yeah, look, we went under anti-media first. I was really hitting anti-media network, and I wanted to create a network of people who are opposed to the mediation of reality. But that right after we really started building momentum on that, I put out this thing called the Anti-Media Manifesto. And it wasn't about being against the news. It was against this mediation process. But there was a shooting at a news media station in Annapolis, at a Fox station, by some crazy guy. And they said he was motivated by anti-media rhetoric. And I was like, wow, that was crazy. Like, that term anti-media hadn't really been used until that week, and it was immediately used to make it look like people who don't trust the news want to go shoot up the news, which is not the case.
Yeah, and they're probably going to do that with people that, as they get more awake and start calling out the BS and the fakes, they're going to try to have a handle on it. But
they tried
it once. Don't be scared, guys. Have no worries.
Exactly. That's the thing too.
Yeah.
When you start auto-hoaxing, what you do is you give yourself permission to not react emotionally, which can be toxic, until you've critically thought about it. And so, yeah, no reason to trip out over the theatrics here.
Like, I'm going to tell you guys how powerful, like, the truth is. You could have the judges and the cops scared of you and actually listen to what you say. Because if you show that you're competent and that that you demand respect, and not to have your rights stepped on. I've done it myself. I'm saying this from experience. I don't I don't go out telling the public what I do, but, I've stopped cops when they pulled me over. They tell me to get out the car. I'm respectful and everything, but I also know how to speak. I know how to communicate, and they listen if you give them respect. They tried to arrest me. They were confused. They didn't know what to do. So that's what I'm gonna say about that.
Right on. Well, hey, I appreciate it. Definitely appreciate your participation in Discord and everything. And yeah, no fear. I think it's a very positive thing to be in the know about the deceptions. That's why I'm always
Yep.
opposed to. That's why I auto hoax the fear porn. So I'm glad you're on the
hmm
same sheet with all that.
Yeah, I stopped watching horror movies a long time ago because I saw what they were trying to do.
All right. Well, hey, thanks for the call again. Anyway, this is Solomite. I'm going to leave with your song here, and I dropped your track. So hopefully, anybody here who wants to collab with you can hit you up on SoundCloud. But at a minimum, subscribe and share. We want these memes to go viral. When you search auto hoax, we don't want them to find bullshit MSM misinformation. We want them to find
Oh yeah,
us.
it has to come from the source. This is our thing, so we can't let them do we can't let them do what they do to other words. We got to keep it. We got to keep a handle on it.
And right now, it's pure. I mean, if you search auto hoax, you find our music,
Yeah.
you find our memes, you find
hmm
research that's they haven't had a chance to contaminate the pool like they did with flat Earth and chemtrails and every
Yeah.
other theory out there.
Yeah. And we're in a society where people like trends, man. So if we like the people that are listening, I know it's not a lot of people commenting, but there is a lot of people listening, a lot more than what the numbers show. And if you guys, if we all just try to put an effort to just put something out there, like if you just write something on your dollar or write a note and leave it on the ground or whatever you want to do, you can do your own billboard. You don't have to wait 14. If you have money, you can do your own billboard. Just you got to get the stuff out there. You can make T-shirts. I got plans, so we gonna put this stuff out there.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And then people will follow other people. We did one
hmm
billboard, and then spontaneously other people did similar billboards. And the thing is, the
Yep.
media assumed it was part of one consolidated effort. And it kind of was in a
Yeah.
way. It's like dominoes being pushed. But once people
Yeah.
see an example of how easy it is or achievable, they will repeat it. And that's kind of what we want to create here is a wave of people who find that, hey, there's nothing wrong with not being
hmm
gaslit by the media and not being cowed into not speaking the truth.
Oh yeah. And I learned about research the flat Earth, that thing, before I even knew about IPS and this movement. Um, it sounded gimmicky to me and stuff, but that's why I kind of like stayed away from it. But I just want to let you know that stuff really does work, because I was as skeptical as I am. I found research the flat Earth meme, and I didn't know that was from you guys, from this team.
Yeah, exactly, and that's what we said. It said, "Hey, we get the meme out
hmm
there. It's like a Trojan horse, and it'll
Yep.
reach the people it needs to reach eventually, and it won't go
Yeah.
away." And yeah, that meme is still proliferating. And Mad Mike's
hmm
movie, Real Rocket Man, has flat Earth on the side of it. Research flat Earth, and that movie even now
hmm
is trending pretty heavily on Amazon. So the meme continues to propagate. They can't bottle it back up.
Yeah. And I'm gonna keep following Mike too. I like what I've seen so far and what he talks about. I also like how he ties in law, because I feel like that's also very important to our growth and claiming back our power. Um, so yeah, I'm gonna keep following, and love you all guys. You know, I try to catch a stream whenever I can. Oh, and I'm also a patron. I don't know if I got my book. Did you
Those go
have you
out.
sent out books to
Yeah,
patrons?
I have actually four of them here. So yeah, Auto Hoaxer Handbook is going out to everyone on Patreon who joined this month at 10 a month. So if you don't have a
Yeah,
copy
because
of
I support your art too.
oh yeah, definitely. And
Like,
you'll get a kick out of the Auto Hoaxer Handbook. We have an updated version. It's got a bunch of
hmm
MVP's memes, a bunch of David Hogg stuff. But
yeah,
yeah,
that's awesome.
the subtitle, Living in Truth at a Time of Universal Deceit, and it's just a breakdown
hmm
of what pseudo news really is and how it warps your worldview.
Yeah. And I also need to get that book, God is a Narcissist. I need to see what you talk about in that one too.
Oh yeah,
Sounded
see,
pretty interesting.
yeah, that one you can probably even get the audiobook. I think it should be out any day now, but I haven't even
Oh
seen
yeah?
it in print yet. But yeah, that one, yeah, because God is a narcissist is like my theory that the big religions have created Big Brother long before there was Big
hmm
Brother. They just called him by different names, and his
hmm
personality is a dominating narcissistic personality because that type of
hmm
personality will cause conformity with the weaker personalities.
Hmm. That makes a lot of sense.
Well, then
and it's a lot. It's very practical.
exactly. Like you want to rule over some
Hmm.
people, you need them to fear something. It's either some big weapon or some big scary
Yeah.
god, and that's just human motivation. And the media today has replaced God with a whole bunch of more abstract fears, or not even abstract. I mean, climate change, the globe is pretty much the vengeful God that we gotta appease today.
Hmm. Yeah, it is. Earth is becoming more. They're just making idols of material things, whichever way they can. That's what I see, and Earth is a part of it.
100%. Yeah, 100%
Hmm.
idolatry. And right now, the language, you talk about language, it's like I'm trying not to let them get away with using the word hate in the way they're using it, where they can say, well, your
Yeah,
song is
I noticed
hateful.
that.
It's like, wait, what's the difference between saying that your song is hateful and saying your song is sinful? Like,
Hmm.
it's an opinion.
There's no difference. Exactly.
It's just an opinion. Like, you think it's sinful, this guy thinks it's hateful. I say you can both get whatever. It's none of your business. It's my
Hmm.
song. But they want to say, well, it's sinful. Religion can't touch it anymore because we're secular, but it's hateful. We can touch it. So the ADL is knowingly using the term hate
Hmm.
in a very new way to program us to
Hmm.
accept a new form of sin, a new form of policing that I don't want anything to do with.
Oh yeah, the police state, man. That I feel like the police state, like the police versus the common people, they've been using that for forever.
Oh,
Having our own selves, like our own people doing the work for, for the system to keep us down.
oh, that's the Republic. Plato's Republic. You have
The Plato's
gold,
Republic.
yeah, gold, silver, and bronze. We're the bronze. The elite are the
Hmm.
gold, and then the police are
Oh,
the silver. And they say that,
oh, I've heard different. Yeah, I've heard different interpretations of that. Okay.
well, the idea is that we're all born from the earth. That's our mother,
Hmm.
and that you have a certain
Hmm.
blood in your, or metal in your blood. And so the gold are the people
Hmm.
who are born to be the kings and the elite, the philosopher kings.
Hmm.
The silver are going to serve them, and then the
Hmm.
bronze are the people who are born slaves, and that would be us.
Hmm.
And I think that's what they have here. I think they have the elite work through a proxy. That's why I don't buy into a lot of the whodunits as far as like, let's blame the Jews or the Jesuits. It's like, we don't know. That's just the middlemen.
Hmm. Yeah. We don't know who it is, man. They keep their identity concealed very well with all these confusions in different groups.
Yep, exactly.
Um, but at the end of the day, I feel like it really doesn't matter who it is. You just gotta stand up for your rights and stand up for yourself and your fellow men. Like if people aren't with you, they're not with you. Like for example, if I have a person I don't like in my life, I'm not gonna think about them and worry about what they're doing. Like if they are trying to do something to me, I'm gonna make it right, but I'm not gonna.
Oh yeah, I
I don't
think
feel like
the,
you
the,
get
the
what I'm saying.
yeah, the who done it is, I think, the biggest waster of time, when really we should be
Yeah.
figuring out what is it. It's a what is it, not a who done it.
Hmm.
And
You can
what it
get that a lot with Russian vids, by the way.
Oh yeah, they'll give you so many trails to follow, and it's like, no, we have to figure out what it is. And yeah, just like
Hmm.
anything else in existence, it like weather, climate, it's just something you just have to know. It's part of your environment. You become aware of it, and you
Hmm.
overcome it. Like I'm not
And I
triggered.
also want to.
I'm not
Oh, go
triggered
ahead.
by. I'm not triggered by anything in the news. I'm not afraid of asteroids, and I don't worry about being gunned down in malls or anything. None of these things even strike me as remotely possible.
Hmm. Yeah. I have no fear when I walk down the street. Some people do though, but I show them love and they ease up. So one last thing I want to say was about this hip hop thing that I have found on YouTube earlier. You probably saw me on the chat and Discord. I was kind of spamming a little bit, but I got to figure out a way to get my stuff out rather than typing. But that what I want to say is that I noticed that these people that have the money and that give these rappers the money and control them and tell them what to do, they do not like hip hop at all. But they do like the money it gets and they like the influence. But they do not like the culture. They do not like the music or anything about it. And they try their best to make it look bad. That is why music, for hip hop at least, is in the state that it is now. That's why trap is popular. Trap is not, it's a branch of hip hop, but it's not real hip hop as people remember it and know it. I'm not saying that it's not hip hop at all, but they took trap, which was it was a good branch, but they took it and made it more evil, kind of like how they did in the 80s with Ice Cube and his friends. You know, they just kind of took what was good and they influenced people to do bad with it. And we're so asleep that we just accept anything passively, and that's how these people get famous, because they just put them in your face, like the Baby and J. Cole, kind of too. I mean, a lot of these people, man, they just throw them in your face. The melodies aren't that good. These people are not trying that hard. They go to the studio without a plan. They do drugs. They make a song, and you guys think it's a hit when there's nothing good about it. And music is very powerful. We have to realize this. So we have to pay attention and be aware. And the more we learn, the more we'll see that, okay, like, you know, like this music I shouldn't be listening to. But I just want to say that about hip-hop, because I feel very strongly about hip-hop, just how it came about and how it started in America. So,
Well, I appreciate it. Yeah, very good. Well, look,
yeah.
it's like that with the arts in general. The powers that be know
Mhm.
that our political decisions run downstream from what goes into our culture. That's why these cartoons
Mhm.
that we watch aren't just cartoons. It's brainwashing with entertainment as a side effect. And yeah, any
Mhm.
insights you have about, hip hop, feel free to share it, because this is a very
Mhm.
multi-pronged war, and
Yeah,
every
it is. It
single
is.
genre is in on it.
Mhm. And the more people we get to in the conversation and think tank, the more, perspectives we'll have, because, you're right. There is a lot of like degrading in quality in like all the arts, period. So like I definitely see it in cartoons too.
Yeah, definitely. And the use of it is so concerted, where the messaging in the cartoons reinforces the propaganda in the news at the same time. So if you miss the news,
Hmm.
you're still going to get it to the Family Guy. So you can't
Yep.
escape it.
And Rick and Morty and that other one that's a Cartoon Network with the Adventure Time. That was a big one, man. People got hooked on that joint.
It's all memes. You're right, and that's probably what
Hmm.
one of the things about hip hop, or that genre of music, is. One, maybe it encourages too much self assertion, and then two, maybe it's too catchy, and they got to be careful what
Oh
memes
yeah,
get catchy.
that's why I said earlier how music powerful is, because man, those bruh, if you can get a hook into somebody's head, you got them. So they're basically brainwashing themselves at that point.
Yeah, exactly. And,
Hmm.
and they want to make sure that the hooks that you have are the hooks that reinforce the dominant paradigm, and that's why they
Hmm.
co-opt all the best artists and always have. So that's why I like
Hmm.
subversive tracks like Auto Hoax getting out there, because it has the potential to spread virally, unpredictably. And once something like
Hmm.
that gets out, it's like good luck
Hmm.
reverse engineering this level of radical skepticism. Once people figure out
Oh
that
yeah,
it's the only way to see clearly.
yeah. And my tactic is to be kind of blunt about things. I know other people, they might be more abstract. So I'm more of a logical person, so my music is going to be pretty straightforward, and so there's no like too many confusions.
Right.
So,
Well, I like the fact that when you search auto hoax, your songs is one of the ones that's going to come up, and it's going to be that way.
hmm.
And all we need is, this is what I'm waiting for, and I think it's going to happen in 2020. We need there to be a mass media outrage against the very existence of the auto hoaxers. They want to pretend we don't exist. Once they find
Hmm.
out that, hey, there's a problem worse than the anti-vaxxers and the flat earthers. This is the
Hmm.
media's worst nightmare. Is you have a
Oh yeah.
growing body of people who know you're all full of shit, and they're willing to sit around every day and laugh at your stories. They don't want that to get
Oh
out
yeah.
and go viral, and it may. One of us is going to do
Hmm.
or say something, and it's going to set that off.
That amen. I am waiting for that day. Actually, I see that day already, and that's why I'm pushing with you guys. So it's going to happen. We just gotta stay focused. Don't get discouraged. It might take some years, but hey, it's going to be worth it.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it, and I appreciate you putting out the work and the effort into it. And yeah,
Hmm.
definitely, instead of writing, a good way to get things out, of course, is talking. So feel free to call anytime and bounce ideas, or share what's on your mind, because
Yeah.
definitely we want to get these ideas out, because if anybody agrees with what you're saying, they'll network with us. They'll join us. They will produce content.
Yeah, I'm a little shy, but I'm breaking out my show.
Cool. Well, hey, I appreciate the call. Have a good night, and I'm going to end with your song here, Auto Hoax.
Awesome. All praise to the creative man.
All right, we'll see you in Discord. Have a good night.
All right. Peace.
All right, everyone. Hey, this is the creator of this track. We've played it a lot of times. People have been asking, who did this track? Well, he finally called in. This is Solomite. And what I'm going to do is, again, post the link one more time in case any of you want to follow him on SoundCloud. And, yeah, really, it's all about the memes. It's meme war, ultimately. And music like this, songs like this are carriers of the types of memes that they don't even want existing.
CIA be lurking, I be in the turban. Little ones stay cursing, older ones out twerking. Talking about lack of education, streets are always dangerous. Bluetooth speakers playing, do you really hear what they saying? Do you know what that mean? Are you down for the team? They speak through signs and symbols, you can learn about these things. Live by 9/11, Club of 27. Once you think that they in heaven, nah bruh, it's a legend. It's all according to the code. I'm Illuminati with my mind, body, and my soul. That's why they snatching bodies, everybody in a Holly Grove. Deception is a hobby, switching roles with the auto clone. We call that an auto hoax.
Man, what you trying to prove? Don't you know we've been around the globe and been to the moon?
Forget it, that's an auto hoax.
You tripping, times two. What about the shootings that they always cover on the news?
Real, that's an auto hoax.
They don't move, we will make the way. Let it spray, right reality like an AKA. Let them know we don't play. They live like life's a party, but it's really like a breakaway. Meditate, focus your attention on your better days. You know what I'm talking about. Don't let these slimy narcissists, antichrist out there turn your eye. Freedom of speech is actuality. That's why the truth must spread by word of mouth, word of mouth. It's all according to the code. Damn Illuminati with my mind, body, and my soul. That's why they snatching bodies, everybody in the Holly Grove. Deception is a hobby, switching roles with the auto clone. Let me turn on my auto hoax. Not even a proven fact. The floor curves into a spinning ball, and you can test for that.
Globe is an auto hoax.
Man, you must be trolling me. Scientific theories aren't what they are shown to be.
Yup, that's an auto hoax.
So what you're saying is you don't accept the claim as missing proof, then you label it.
Exactly, it's an auto hoax.
Wow, sports is scripted by the number code. What do I really don't? Let me turn on my auto hoax.
Squad.
Let me turn on my auto hoax and look this stuff up when I get home. Cause boy, I tell you, these kids today is tripping. I ain't tripping, he must be tripping. Cause I am not tripping, not one little bit. I know my things, I know my shit.
Mad mind, get so high, out of sight. Mad mind, yeah, sonic boom, put yourself through the plasma moon. Exploration, mad mind, infinite land in chaotic creation. shine.